Jack Leach once again. Another appeal. Carbon copy, and up goes the finger this time. Pujara has immediately reviewed it. I tell you what, it's hitting halfway up, just over halfway up, middle and off.
So there's two titans of the modern era head to head here. Oh yes, beauty from Stokes, he's done it! And Kohli playing at it has nicked it through to Ben Foakes. That's fabulous fast bowling.
Terrific wicket, huge wicket for England.
Leach is in and Rohit Sharma.
Kohli went without scoring edge, and is taken by Ben Stokes at second slip, and Jimmy Anderson has the third wicket of the session, the fourth of the innings, and India are 80 for 4.
Anderson, that's a little wider, and it's a one-handed drive by Rishabh Pant, and it'll go for 4.
Rohit Sharma peels off an imperious drive just wide of mid-off.
Down he comes now, and he hits it high and long and for 6. He waits for Stokes. Oh, he's done it with a beautiful in-swinger. He's LBW. That is some delivery. If Waqar Younis at his best had bowled that ball, he'd have been proud of it. Jack Leach is going to bowl. I think that's a good decision. He lobs one up, and that's out. Caught at mid-wicket.
Is there a crowd in there, Mark? Because I can't hear a pin drop. A huge dismissal that for Jack Leach in England.
This is commentary of the fourth test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. Try it free for 1 month at thetimes.co.uk/cricket offer. Subscription auto-renews unless cancelled. Terms and conditions apply. It's tea time. Another absolutely absorbing session of Test cricket. And England are doing more than just clinging on by their fingertips to this Test match. They're right in it. They're in the midst and the thick of it with India at tea. 153 for 6, still 52 runs behind. And Rishabh Pant, well, my goodness me, does the result of this Test match rest on the young wicketkeeper batsman's innings. He's 36 not out, and he survived a perilously close LBW appeal on the stroke of tea. After tea, Washington Sundar will resume on 1. Rishabh Pant on 36. Players are making their way down this enormously long staircase that takes you up to the players' change rooms. It's India's equivalent of Wembley. I don't know how many steps it is, but it looks 100 at least. And we're only moments away from resuming at 153 for 6. We were on this morning, Steve Harmison, when we were both talking about how many overs Ben Stokes might have in the tank, and we were talking as well about how he had lacked rhythm in the series so far, in which he'd only bowled 15 overs. How much rhythm can you get in 15 overs in 3 Test matches? But then he found it. He found it this morning, and then he went on and on and on like the Duracell bunny. Oh, hang on, Steve Harmison's microphone's there. Oh, there you go.
He was. It's been quite bizarre the way Ben has gone throughout the series and not bowling, but he always seems to do this. He bowls that long spell that just seems to bowl him back into form and back into rhythm, and he gets himself into a bowling cycle, actually just out in the middle of the Test match. And you just mentioned there the long walk to the dressing room, the 100 steps. It's probably the last thing Ben Stokes wanted at tea time after bowling that 2 long spells in a day, thinking, oh, I've got to go all the way up there.
He needs a funicular, doesn't he? Installed one of those little electrical.
It's a bit like the one in Pretoria. I remember coming off the field on a hot day in Pretoria thinking, I've got to go all the way up there for 10 minutes for me to come all the way back down to start bowling again. Can you not just bring me tea and me coffee to the side of the I'll just stick an umbrella over me head and bring a shirt down. I'm not bothered about changing me socks and me boots. I'm going back on the field.
I'll tell you what, spare a thought for the lads who have the fluorescent vests on.
Oh, yes.
Doing the 12th man duties. I did a full tour for you and Oggy in South Africa. I reckon I did 50,000 up and down of those in Pretoria steps in one day because of you two. Whatever the word I'm not allowed to say on camera on radio.
Yeah, that was a hot Test match. I do remember that.
I know
one.
It was, mate. It was blooming up from where I was sat.
I remember that goes back to a story. We played at Eastbourne once, and I played against Sussex. 48 overs in the field. And, 48 overs. I think fielded for about 180 overs, and Robin Weston was 12th man. And he came in at the end after fielding 180 overs, and he put the drinks down, and he went, Oh, I'm glad that's finished. I tell you what, I nearly took his head off. I nearly took his head off. Honestly, if I could have had the energy to get up, I would have took his head off when he said that. I couldn't believe he just 12th man couldn't, tired from running drinks around after bowling 40 odd overs. But Ben Stokes, to answer your question, Manners, I think he's bowled himself into a little bit of form, and he's bowled England back into this Test match.
Bats, I think it was around about the same time that you and I sort of noticed that he had that glazed eyeball look at Ben Stokes, and he had the bit between his teeth. I think it was after about 6 overs we looked at each other and we thought, hang on a minute, he's not coming out of the attack anytime soon.
Yeah, he does get that, doesn't he? And I suppose there's two kinds of bowlers, aren't there? There are the guys that need to do lots of bowling in nets and all this sort of thing to get up to speed, and there are some guys who are just natural bowlers. He's probably the only time I've ever seen anybody just somewhere in between. He'll do a little bit in nets and he'll do a little bit in games, but it's just one spell that gets him into it, and he's up and running. It's that sort of volume of capacity in an hour or an hour and a half bowling, and then it's like, right, here we go, I'm good to go.
You need to synchronise your pain, don't you, as a fast bowler? You need to get everything aching and sore in the right rhythm. Then you just keep going.
But it's also, Manners, once you get loose and you get going, you just think, well, how sore I'm going to be the next time. I might as well bowl me overs now and get them over and done with. Freddie was the same. Andrew was the same. Freddie would bowl long spells, and it took him 4 overs, 5 overs, and then the captain's looking and thinking, well, his 3rd over wasn't very good. His 4th over was a lot better. His 5th over was very, very good. His 6th over was very, very good. And you're looking and thinking, well, I want to take you off here, but actually this is the best you're bowling. And because of the heart, and Andrew is the same, and Ben's got the big heart, it's like, well, you're not taking the ball out of my hand.
It's like getting one of those super tankers going, isn't it? Like a cargo ship. You can't ask the captain to turn around after a couple of miles. We've got to get like a 15-mile turning circle.
The problem is the medical people, and I'm assuming on the tankers it's the mechanics, would tell you that actually the amount of extra effort in that 9-10 over spell does more damage than keeping it short spells, hence why the big lads generally bowl the shorter spells, because the sort of accumulation of damage is magnified by those longer spells.
Well, it's also, to counter that argument, it's let's use the floodlight analogy. How much power does it take to turn them on? And then once they're on, just leave them on.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's the conundrum with someone like Ben and his body, with his feet and with his knees. The balance of, as a captain, having the medical team saying, you're doing more damage to him bowling like 9 and 10 overs, but you're also saying, well, from a captaincy point of view, we've only got 200 on the board. I need a wicket. I need him to bowl this 9 to 10th over. If I bring him back in 20 minutes or half an hour, his first 3 overs might cost me 16 runs, 18 runs, and that's a huge gamble. So I'd rather bowl him in these next 2.
I'm pretty sure there's some people tuned in listening now going, hang on a minute, it's paid to bowl, get bowling, my son.
Just by the by, the batsman kept the England fielders in the field, by my watch, for 3.5 minutes. England were out there 3.5 minutes ago, and that's why we've been talking, and the batsman eventually emerged. Joe Root's going to continue then. Well, he's going to start after the tea break. First delivery is nice drift on it into Rishabh Pant, and then pushes it through the covers on the offside. That's just purely a miscommunication, right?
Well, the umpires should have been on top of that, but I'm not 100% sure, so I might be wrong here. But Pant was down for a while; he was sitting in a dugout. I just wonder if Washington Sundar was either late coming out, or one of them had forgotten something, and 12th man had to bring like another pair of gloves or an arm guard or something like that.
Okay, all right. I didn't see Rishabh Pant in the dugout. Here is Root once again. That's a little round arm slinger, or maybe he's just got a stiff shoulder. It seemed like his arm was a bit low with that delivery.
No, it definitely was from the first one. The first one was pretty much straight over the top, and that one just dropped his arm a bit. He does like to play with angles, Joe Root.
Nice, 154 for 6. And a peel for leg before wicket here, and a dramatic one from Joe Root. I like that. It was spinning around towards the umpire and then down on one knee. He looked like he was about to propose.
I think he got an inside, decent size inside edge onto that. Just wonder, Bats, if he's going the round arm to Sundar over the top to Pant, but the round arm to Sundar to basically stop him from coming down the wicket.
Another one, quicker one, slinger 154 for 6. Hits the pads again, and there's another ooh and an ah, and it might have been another inside edge.
Yeah, I would say generally your round arm, you're looking to hit the tram lines for DRS.
Yeah.
Straight over the top, it allows you to maybe get it wider into the rough. So maybe the opposite way for Pant, you might want to chuck it wider and get him trying to fetch a wider ball rather than it being in the slot.
Root again, once nice drift in once more to Rishabh Pant playing defensively. He's on 37. Sorry, it's Washington Sundar on strike. Rishabh Pant took a single off the first ball. 154 for 6. India still 51 runs in arrears. It still feels significant, but it can change quite quickly. Mind you, we haven't seen any quick runs at all at any stage of the day so far. Forward comes Washington Sundar, pushing it out towards the man sweeping on the cover boundary, Zach Crawley, and they go through for another single. But then throughout the series, and indeed it's a common phenomenon in Test series in India anyway and in the subcontinent, but throughout this series we've seen most runs scored in the third session of the day.
Yeah, and there's an amount of that. The ball generally is at its best for batting at that point. It's lost the newness, and then the sort of bit in the middle of the reverse swinging, and then it's just nicely soft and placid and consistent. But also the sun has had its effect on bodies throughout the day. The minds aren't quite as weary. The minds are a bit wearier as the day goes on. But I find this game, England are desperate for a 2-all in this series. India are desperate to get into that World Test Championship. There just feels like there's more mental pressure for players in this game than any of the other games, which is bizarre, really.
Somebody that just like nobody wants to break away. Nobody wants to take Rishi Pant is probably the one to do it from an India point of view. But the way the game's meandering on, the new ball's due in 17 overs, and I know that's a long way away, but if the scoring rate goes the way it's going, India are still batting, pretty much be parallel scores.
Oh, it's interesting. Dom Bess has got the first over from the GMDC end, and he begins with a high full toss, which is punched away by Washington Sundar for 4. And it's statement of the obvious, I know, but every run is so important while England is still in the lead, and to give 4 easy ones away like that just feels doubly disappointing. It's a thigh-high full toss, and Washington Sundar could have hit it anywhere. He's chosen mid-wicket for 4. That's better from Bess, and it's slapped away out to the man giving him protection, Dom Sibley, on the cover boundary. 160 for 6.
You can understand what Joe Root's trying to achieve with the 2 off spinners to left-handed batters, trying to angle the ball in and spin it away, but you've still got to execute. It's great having all the good ideas and plans, but if we're not executing from a playing point of view or from a plan point of view, each individual, all the great ideas go out the window, unfortunately.
Quite difficult to watch as well. I haven't been there many times on a cricket field where I've had struggles with lines and lengths. You feel as though you're just dying in a hole.
Here is Bess once again, and it's short and wide and cut through extra cover. It's not a good delivery again. It's another poor one from Dom Bess. High full toss and then a drag down, and he's been slapped through extra cover for 4 more. That's why it's the definition of an individual game as well as being a team game, because he knows he's letting all of his teammates down. Yeah,
you can see that in it. As he's walking back, he's sort of talking to himself, looking up at the sky. As Harmy says, it's not a nice place to be as a sports person when it's not quite going your way and your body's not moving in sync, it's not working as you want it to.
Here is Bess once again, and that's forward. Comes Sundar pushing out towards cover again, and there's no run.
And the added pressure of your body's tightening up because you try and your mind's telling you one thing, but from a confidence point of view, it's not there. He's probably thinking he doesn't want to let go of the ball here, and that's when you get to a position like that, it is horrible.
It's Rishabh Pant on strike as Dom Bess is in, and that's better, but it's pushed out towards long off, fielded by Dan Lawrence, and they go through for a single. End of the over, 165 for 6. Jared Kimber. No, it's not the end of the over, but don't worry. Go on, Jared.
Bats, I just wanted to ask, his speeds in this over, he's gone up to 90 kilometres and all the way down to 75 kilometres. Would he be better off maybe not even just going to whatever he feels is his standard speed here until he gets everything else right?
Good question. Answer after this ball. Last ball of the over. Forward comes Rishabh Pant, pushing up towards out towards cover. 165 for 6. India trail by 40.
Yeah, I think it's that buzzword. You go back to your stock ball. It's no different whether you're a fast bowler or a spinner. Same as a batter. If you normally bat on middle stump and you've been playing around with a different guard, go back to what is stock. Go back to what your muscle memory suggests is in there that will be repeatable more than anything else. So he will know roughly what speed his stock ball is. I would guess between 82 and 85-ish, maybe somewhere around that. Might be a little bit off either way, but you're basically talking 2 or 3 kilometres either way of your stock ball, and just try and bowl your best ball over and over again to try and get yourself into that muscle memory feel. And as soon as you get the muscle memory, all of a sudden your mind stops playing tricks on you quite the same as it is doing at the minute.
And it's like a seamer. When your seamer's not going well, you try and encourage them to take the batter out of the equation and say, just bowl to the wicketkeeper. Just bowl to the wicketkeeper. Take everybody out of the equation.
Here's Joe Root now continuing, and that's flicked nicely off his pads for another single by Rishabh Pant out towards deep square leg.
But there must come a point, and not from a spinning point of view, but a captaincy point of view, where you look at your subject, i.e. Dom Bess, and you think, actually, this might not be a bad thing. Just take him out of the equation the whole way. If we have to bowl Dan Lawrence, I'll bowl Dan Lawrence. I'm just going to take him out of it for his good and for the team's good.
Yeah.
Here's Root again, and that one is driven along the ground, nicely fielded by Root.
Yeah, I think Mark used a great word, and it's got to be a little bit more ruthless with his decision making. It's not something I was ever good at as a captain. I had too much empathy for players and probably cared too much about them at times and didn't make the right decision for the here and now.
Quicker one from Root, just back of a length, allowing the batsman onto the back foot. Punches it down the ground, no run.
Yeah, but the right decision, empathy-wise, could be to take him out and just stick him on a boundary for a bit. And then it comes to what the way you describe it brilliantly is we don't need to hear or see or actions from the outside, but actually what's being said inside between Root and Bess and everybody else around him. That taking him out might be a good thing, but actual communication and talking to him could be the best option.
Root again, forward comes Sundar, pushing defensively to mid-off. Cruel to be kind, bats.
Yeah,
cruel to be kind.
I mean, basically, you're not going to fix what potentially is the problem now in the game. So you've got to make
Absolutely.
it work for you.
Root again, wide of the crease and beautifully bowled past the outside edge. Washington Sundar groping at that one and not finding the edge. Fine delivery from Root. You were talking about angles. It's not just his arm, is it? It's use of the crease as well. Sometimes close to the stumps, that time very wide. It just has the batsman doesn't always pick it up immediately, and so he's not aware of the change of angle. That was a super delivery from Joe Root. Every delivery in this over in the 90 kilometres an hour. Last ball keeps a bit low actually, and is pushed out in towards cover. And there's no run. Every run so important. That lead of 30 or 40 could just be critical. And at the moment, England's lead is 39. India 166 for 6.
I suppose the difference between Root now and Bess is bowling like a frontline spinner, so he's worried about his output at the minute. He's concentrating on, I've not bowled that where I wanted, and worrying about it. Root is bowling almost like a batter that he's bowling and saying, well, this is what I don't want to face, and he's just trying to get the ball into those areas. Possibly the thing for Bess is to say, don't worry too much about outcome, just bowl as he doesn't want you to be, and take that out of the equation.
Yeah, just exactly. I mean, forget about the run. Well, don't forget about the runs. But Bess is in once again. Another full toss. Another one. Just flicked though, rather harmlessly, in the circumstances, by Rishabh Pant for a single to mid-on.
The hardest part about this whole thing for Bess, and I know from personal experience, because I've been in this situation, 1 or 2 times before, is that forget anybody else. Forget what anybody else has said. It's what's going on between Bess's ears. It's what's going on between Dom Bess's ears. That's what's putting himself under pressure. Tension of the shoulders, not wanting to let go of the ball, feeling as though he's not doing his job properly.
Here is Dom Bess once again, and it's pushed defensively off the outside. He's changed his shirt, by the way. Dom Bess looked like he'd been playing rugby in his previous shirt, but he's got a clean one on now at tee. And are you actually seeing signs of slight yippiness?
A little bit, yeah. And I don't like calling it yippiness because it's like I'm like bats. I want to see nice, be nice to everybody and see nice things.
Outside the off stump, and that is left alone. I think to say that a sportsman has the yips is not a criticism. I think that's an enormously sympathetic thing. I mean, that's we mostly associate it with golfers putting on the greens and chipping. You get rid of you get slightly yippy. You don't want to let go of the ball. Darts players suffer from it as well. Another full toss from Dom Bess, and it's driven up towards mid-off. Dan Lawrence picks up and shies at the stumps, and he's actually hit Rishabh Pant on the arm. He was diving in to make his ground at the non-striker's end, and absolutely within his rights to have a go at the stumps there, Dan Lawrence, and Rishabh Pant diving has taken a blow on the arm. 167 for 6.
Yeah, painful when he's diving in, and with the dive in the crease, the ball's been thrown at the stumps and it's copped him. But copped him on the shoulder. But just going back to what you were saying, man, it can happen with anything where you're talking about being repeatable. Repeat. If your body for some reason is just out of sync, and then the mind starts playing tricks, that is the real difficult thing to get over.
And it's the mind, a huge there's a couple of times, for instance, I can explain from examples. There was one in Perth in 2002 when I was running into bowl. Good chance to explain because the physio's on, but I was running into bowl and there was a sprinkler head right on my eye line, and I kept trying to miss it, and then all of a sudden I lost my run up completely. I was hop, skipping, and jumping, and I mean Butch will tell you, because they were at slip and they were honestly wetting themselves laughing. I had no idea,
as cricketers do.
Honestly, they were. They had no idea which was going first. My left foot, my right foot. Didn't know what was going on. And once I'd missed it once, that was it. I was history. I just had to, and I had nowhere to go. And it was affecting my bowling. It was affecting everything. The crowd was getting on my back. I was false starting all the time. And it wasn't a case of me being able to run because I could run. It wasn't a case of me not knowing me run up because I knew me run up. It was just the minute all that came into the mind, I just stopped thinking about trying to do anything. And I remember saying to Nasser Hussain, I didn't ask him to take me off. I thought he would have took me off. And he just said, keep going, you'll get through it. And that worked for me.
Here is Dom Bess once again. 2 balls left in this over. Jared?
I mean, there's been a lot of sports science in the last, 30 years, and they haven't been able to work out exactly what this is. We talk about muscle memory in sports, but obviously muscles don't actually have memories, so it's about the brain and the implant on the brain, and we don't know why sometimes that doesn't happen.
Here is Dom Bess to complete the over. He's up to that's driven in the air, just over the head of Ollie Pope at short cover, and I mean just over the head, and it's down to the boundary for 4. That was a loose, an unconvincing shot from Washington Sundar. It takes him to double figures. He's on 11. Rishabh Pant is 44. India are 171 for 6, trailing by 34. Another word from Jared Kimber, and then it'll be Mark Nicholas for the next 20 minutes.
And what I've noticed in cricket is it seems to happen, I know you're talking about it happening to you, Hummy, but it seems to happen to part-time finger spinners a lot. I remember there was a Hong Kong spinner called Anshi Rath who I think tried to play for Middlesex but couldn't get a visa. Very good left-arm finger spinner. You watch him in the nets and go, this guy could be really good. He went out in the middle and would double bounce it. And there's also, I remember Rosalie Birch, who played cricket for England, started bowling head-high full tosses that couldn't stop it. So for whatever reason, it does happen to part-time finger spinners on a higher rate in cricketers than other skills.
I think in particular left-arm spinners as well, isn't it?
And not necessarily part-time. I mean, promise you, even Phil Edmonds had a period where he struggled and used to bowl just from a standing still position. He didn't even dare run in. There was a famous Derbyshire left arm spinner called Fred Swarbrick who couldn't let go of the ball at all physically. I mean, it does happen to left arm spinners, and there's no rhyme or reason to that, I don't suppose. 171 for 6. The danger of Washington Sundar is that shot we've just seen, because this pair have now put on really valuable runs. 26 to be precise, as Pant goes forward and it comes off his inside edge out to deep backward square leg, and there's a single in it. No batsman yet got to 50, but Pant closing in on 1, as Rohit Sharma was a little earlier. It's all pretty tense, you know. India battling for this place in the final of the World Test Championship against New Zealand. That'll be in England in June. They haven't yet confirmed which of the grounds it'll be at, but Lords is a favourite along with the Ageas Bowl. Now Best bowls again, get some bounce out of that just as Sundar goes forward. We talked a lot, I want McGareth to go into it further, this business of bowling into the pitch, that really hit the splice of the bat and lobbed up, but only straight, not on the leg side where the short leg fielder is. 33 runs, England's advantage. Root again, nice straight bat in defence. Root bowls it into the pitch.
Yeah, it's kind of putting the energy through the ball directly into the surface to try and get extra energy from the surface. Same as fast bowlers when they get the fingers right behind it. You put energy into the pitch and get it out, as opposed to it kissing sometimes, and we're not as direct.
Push off the back foot this time into that square cover region as the ball just hurried Sundar a touch, but actually he was in pretty good control. The great thing about Washington Sundar, I mean, actually he's quite a stylish batsman. He's got a very good eye, a natural eye. He watches the ball pretty closely. There's Root again, short, and that was a ball that might have been pulled on another day, but no, Sundar defended it back to Root, and this habit of undoing the Velcro on his gloves and doing them up again before every ball, a la David Warner, continues. Root's bowling at a fast pace, and television just put up those paces as Sundar goes forward and defends out onto the offside. Orthodox forward shot, no run. Yeah, he's bowled between 90 and 99 all the time with the score at 172 for 6, Gareth.
Yeah, which is not an easy thing to do and hold your action. I know we've touched on it before that if we were to say, Steve, your optimum way of bowling is 90 miles an hour, but today we want you to bowl at 93, it's very difficult to keep your strength of action and raise the stakes in the pace. And Joe Root does it quite naturally, but other bowlers find it a lot harder. I would suggest that Jack Leach is not somebody that operates as a natural pace in the 90s, but has been able to up his skill set and his pace in this game particularly, which is incredibly impressive, that he's held his line and length and still done everything he wants to do, and he's sort of felt his way into that throughout the series.
What I'd say with that is the strength of action from a fast bowler's point of view is not just actually at the crease, it's the momentum going through, actually your run up going through the last 3 or 4 yards of your stride into the bound and then going straight through with it. If you've got that all in sync, that's a better chance of going from 90 to 93. Could it be something simple in something like Dom Bess's run up, or because Joe's got a very, very simple run up, he wants to bowl an over very quickly. He turns, there's no real science in his run up. It's not a very long one, so it's just basically like a step and fetch it. So there's less to go wrong. Where you watch Bess, he gets the ball, he flicks it up, he steps himself, he skips, and then he goes into it. Where in the process, there seems to be a little bit more could go wrong with Dom Bess as opposed to Joe Root.
A bit more feel, isn't there? As soon as you get feel, without going from point A to B in a dead straight line, there's more to go wrong.
172 for 6, long delay, I don't know why. Finally Jack Leach is going to bowl. Reed had a long talk with him, the umpires didn't tell him to get on with it. I suppose they'll say, oh, we're ahead of the over rate. Everybody's always trying to make the over rate rather than beat it. Leach bowls a good ball, and it's beautifully played by Rishabh Pant, who goes deep into his crease and just flicks it away on the leg side with no fuss at all. It's such a naturally talented player of the game. So 173 for 6. They're creeping up on England here. They need another wicket, do the England boys. I tell you what I think about all of that. I think Bess now looks overcoached, and there's a series of steps that have to be taken each time he bowls the ball, and he's worried that if he gets one of them out of sync, he won't bowl a good ball. So he's overthinking the art of spin bowling, and there's no naturalness in it, whereas Root just runs up and bowls because there's no expectation of him. And I think that's making it hard for Dom Bess to bowl consistently. Sure, he'll bowl good balls, he'll get it all right, bowl good balls and they'll spin, but by trying too hard, we've seen him drag a few down, over pitch. If you got another very long delay here as Joe Root reorganises the field, the batsman waits, and again the umpires say nothing. Leach is sort of spinning the ball in his fingers as if it were a top. Up it goes, down it comes. Licks his fingers. Little stretch for Sundar, and again England changed the field. These two balls have taken forever. Finally Leach seems ready to bowl. Sundar taps the ground in his orthodox stance, nice and side on, and goes back. Too short this over so far from Leach, and it's worked away to square leg. So there's a bit of a trickle here. It's a bit too easy for the Indian batsmen. They're getting their singles and the scoreboard's ticking over without them having to work in the way they've had to for most of the day. Maybe the bowlers a bit tired, and certainly the ball's softer, but we're still 12 overs after this one from a new nut.
Yeah, it's just that it's only singles, which is not hurting in massive impact consistently, but it's just trickling away.
Leach switches to bowl round the round the wicket to Sundar. Goes down the leg side, nicely taken by Ben Foakes. I was about to say we haven't said much about Ben Foakes today, but no, all wicket keepers love that.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
the old Tommy Cooper line, isn't it? About that's a good ball, turns and bounces and hits. Very cleverly played, actually, and the batsman allowing it to hit him in the waist. Might be Rishabh Pant, in fact. Can't see because the television screen is on something different. Yes, it's Rishabh Pant on strike, and he goes back, and this is good stuff from Leach. Good move to come round the wicket. Yeah, the old Tommy Cooper line. I haven't seen you at camouflage training today, Private. Thank you very much, sir. Just like that. 174 for 6. Back goes Pant and works the space on the leg side just by opening the blade. He used his wrists very well there. God, he's a good player, this guy. He gets a single from nothing. Very few other players would have had the ability. Now he limps around as if he twisted his ankle, perhaps, completing that single. Steve Harmison takes off his headphones. Darren Gough puts his on. Gareth Batty's off as well. Doubtless, I don't know. Batty's a great coffee man. He's got his own brew here. He bought some beans in, didn't you, Gareth? And you're making brews that no one dares go near. They're so punchy.
They're starting to flag the boys now, aren't they, this last session? It's like I bowled 25 overs here, honestly. Up at 1:30. Commentary starts 3:45 a.m.
You're up at 1:30. You see, I'm the lucky one. I live nearest to here. Me and Harmy. Harmy's staying in a hotel here. I only have to get up at 2:30. The deficit's 30 runs. We're obviously coming to you with the Times, which is a great partnership. Commentary of the 4th Test is on TalkSport 2, as you know, with the Times and the Sunday Times, the team that write with edge. Root round the wicket to Pant, who goes forward, waits and waits, he does, and then gently pushes the ball into the offside. He played it late, which got them all gasping in hope, but no hope was to be found.
I love it when Joe Root just comes wide of the crease and fires it into the stumps, that little bit of drift on towards off stump. He looks in the game because Rishabh Pant is looking to go back most of the time to Joe Root.
And back he goes and plays him beautifully on the offside. Dom Bess runs round to do the fielding. Not much spin at the moment, is there? So as if the fingers are tired. The score's 176 for 6. England still have a lead. But England fans need the ball to spin.
Or is it because he is firing it in, just trying to fire him, and he's going back deep in the crease? Rishabh Pant, we know when he comes down the pitch, he's coming down to hit the maximum, isn't he? But he likes to stay deep in his crease.
Yeah, he does. And Sundar does too on that occasion. Sundar has 12. Pant has 48. Partnership is very handy. 30 it is, in fact, off 62 balls. Root again with the full ball, and this time Washington Sundar miles forward, big stride. This is good batting from Sundar, back forward, playing nice and straight, not making it look very difficult out there. That'll be calming the Indian dressing room, who will now be beginning to think about a first innings lead, having been very concerned about a first innings deficit. As Sundar goes forward again, plays another forward defensive stroke, and it goes away on the offside, and there's no run. It's as if the two sides are jousting with each other here. Case of who'll crack. Will one of the Indian batsmen go big and get it wrong? Will England find a ball that rips a glove off and takes a wicket? There's a drive down the ground off the front foot, and mid-off has to go wider than he'd like to, and even James Anderson can't stop the single. So another nice trickle for the Indians, who've got players to come. Akshay Patel's a good batsman, believe me. Ishan is a
Ishant Sharma's a very resilient defender, and I tell you that Mohammad Siraj can strike it nicely.
Well, I'm not so sure Ishant Sharma against the seam. Against the spin, I totally get it, but I think when Ishant Sharma comes in, I'd be having a couple of overs with a spin. If you don't get him out, I'd be bringing Stokes back to him. He'll
Assuming
fend one
Stokes is up to it, he's bowled a lot of overs, he'll be tired.
He will be when the tail
His
enders
shoulder
come in.
hurts, his feet hurt.
Let me tell you, they won't be tired then when number 10 and 11 come in.
Okay, good.
It's the best time to bowl.
Okay, nice to hear it. Also like to welcome all our TalkSport listeners. Great to have you on board. TalkSport 2, The Times, the England cricketers. We're all a team here in this studio, 17 floors up in the News UK building, as Sundar goes forward and defends on the leg side, and it rolls into the hands of short leg. There's a slip and a short leg. There are 3 in the covers, a sweeper out on the offside, an orthodox short mid-wicket, a deep backward square leg, a mid-wicket and a mid-on. That is back, by the way, deep mid-on. That's the field. And Sundar having nothing of the idea of attack, even though he's got this in-out field to profit from. So he goes forward, and the ball bounces a lot right firmly into his splice and drops down onto the cut bit. Tugs on those gloves again. Gets ready in his stance, more orthodox stance than some. Not too much waving around of the bat. As again goes forward, they appeal for LBW. Because it really did spin back into that pad, but he got himself outside the line. That's great batting.
He did. Good bowling from Jack Leach and good batting as well from Washington Sundar. I feel as though he's got to score runs, really. His selection into the side was mainly as a batsman who's going to get runs down the order, rather than that third spinner in this Indian side.
Back goes Sundar has this easy single as he drives it off the back foot down the ground to long on, and there's just the one run takes him to 14, and India now 27 away from England on a day of little atmosphere in the stadium. Very tight cricket, not very sparkling cricket, if you don't know what I mean. So there's not been much for the crowd to get animated about. The bearded Rishabh Pant waits. Leach bowls round the wicket at him, he goes back and he pulls. That's got the crowd a bit more excited. Nice fielding, very quick to the ball. And the throw whizzes into the non-striker's end, so there was only a single. Oh, it's a no ball. Can you hear that? It's not a fire alarm, it's a no ball call. So, there you go. A run and another ball. Not a free hit in Test match cricket, though I don't think it'd be a bad thing if it was.
Oh, I'd love to see a free hit for a no ball. Now I've retired, especially.
No one would bowl no balls then. Leach again over the wicket to Sundar, who again knocks him down the ground. I fear these runs are coming a little too easily at the moment. Another single.
Can you imagine the noise for a free hit in a Test match? No matter where you are in the world, just think about that for a moment. There's a no ball, it's quite quiet, it's a real tight Test match, and then suddenly you bowl a no ball, and then the noise would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? For that one ball, the next ball. It'd be a great spectacle.
That would have put Harmy under pressure at Edgbaston in 2005.
We didn't take the cup bit, did he?
No, I'm talking Edgbaston to Kastrovic.
Oh, that would be
181 for 6. Here in Ahmedabad, and that's driven firmly to Joe Root at short mid wicket, but for no run. 181 for 6, 10 overs still till the second new ball. Rishabh Pant is on 49, a really well thought through innings. Gosh, he's a good cricketer. And Washington Sundar, playing soundly, is on 15. Akash is joining us now from India. If you're new to our coverage, Akash Chopra, former Indian opening batsman, and now excellent journalist and commentator and all sorts. Akash, I'm really impressed with Rishabh Pant here. This is not a slam bam thank you man innings. This is the innings of a really thoughtful cricketer.
It is, and he's been showing signs of maturity since that innings in Sydney. That comes to my mind straight away, where he got to 90s, and then he just marshalled the chase in Brisbane, and he's just grown from strength to strength from there.
Nice stroke as Root bowls a full ball that Sundar leans into and drives towards mid-on. He could have been Michael Hussey for a moment there. He's not
He's not as gifted as Hussey with the bat, but he's sure built like him, very slim. It's short and he's back, and that could have been Hussey too, as he whipped it away in the spaces on the leg side. He gets a couple for it. And this is tremendous stuff now. They really look comfortable, this pair. They look like they could develop a serious partnership. It's already up in the late 30s. They're not far from England, 37 to be exact they've put on. And still 3 more Indians to come in. Akshat, Ishant and Siraj. Root again. The ball's a nice ball that's left alone outside off stump and taken by Ben Foakes with a minimum of fuss.
I think that what's been impressive about Rishabh Pant for me is, but on a pitch where all the batsmen have struggled to be fluent at the crease, he's only faced 70 odd deliveries for his 49. Fantastic knock.
Yeah. Looks different class, 78 deliveries exactly, and that's a nice forward defensive from Sundar for no run. Exactly. I mean, Rohit Sharma played very well too, but he's supposed to.
Faced a lot of balls, didn't he, Rohit Sharma?
Yeah, true, yeah. Pant on 49, but not on strike. That last ball from Joe Root, 97 kilometres per hour. That's quick for a spinner. Nicely worked away by Sundar in that leg side space again. 2 for that one. This must be a worry now for Joe Root. How he'd love to be able to take that new ball. He'd love the whole thing to be 10 overs further on than it is. 185 for 6 is the score. All in reply to England's 205 yesterday, a score that was certainly 100 below par, as admitted by Ben Stokes and as commentated on by so many people. The theme of all the experts this morning is England's worst day's batting of the tour, because conditions were at their best. Now, if the call is for LBW, is it? Now, Root likes it, Root's appeal, but he didn't appeal with much conviction.
Desperation.
He's asking Ben Foakes what Ben Foakes thinks. If it's held its line, it won't be far away. If it's gone straight on, it's going down the leg side. It's simple. Does he, doesn't he? Does he, doesn't he? Time's run out. He doesn't review. The decision review system, brought in 2009, that allows a third umpire to act upon reviews asked for by the players. They get 3 nowadays because of, it's a complicated reason why, but we've just seen the replay on TV. I think it's probably right not to review it. It was pretty high as Sundar came well forward. England do have a review or 2 left. Anyway, they haven't reviewed it, so just to finish on that with the score at 185 for 6. So what happened was the neutral umpires were giving decisions, and those that were on the wrong end of the decisions could review them. Simple as that. As of 2009, the decision review system came into place. Technology therefore took over. Umpire's call became preeminent, which was a decision made by the umpire, was mainly backed by the system, as Sundar goes forward and tries to work that onto the leg side and hits short leg, so there's nothing more coming out of that other than a dot ball. This is Jack Leach bowling round the wicket, a ball that spins. It is spinning from round the wicket. Rishabh Pant lets it hit his thigh, and now television is having a look at that Joe Root one. The ball clipped Sundar's elbow on the way through to his midriff and was bouncing way over the stump, so he's done the right thing in not choosing to review it. Leach still round the wicket, and Pant watches closely and defends with a dead bat, no follow through. He just sort of stuns the ball back into the turf, wipes a little bead of sweat from his brow, and settles again, taps the ground. Slightly opened his stance to face Leach from round the wicket so he can get to the ball, and then he skips down the pitch to knock it down the ground for a single that takes him to his 50. A huge smile on his face. He's delighted with that performance. He knows it's taken a bit out of him, but what really matters is it's taken a lot out of England. An excellent, classy innings from Rishabh Pant.
Absolutely, Mark. He's a ball of energy. I really enjoy watching him play. I think he's behind the stumps. He's been excellent for India. Much talk about his keeping, but I think he's been brilliant behind the stumps, and then with the bat he's shown great restraint today. We all know he likes to hit big sixes, but today I think this is his best innings of the series so far for me.
Nice, Goffy.
Fantastic.
We've got Akash around too. A quick word maybe, Akash, before Mark Butcher takes over from me.
Oh, he's been very, very good. He's been showing restraint. He's showing maturity in terms of his shot selection, and that was his only downfall in the early part of his test career, international career. Of course, he's very young still, but that was debatable, just throwing his wicket away, not knowing which ball to go after, because he had like a plethora of shots. But this series, he's just continued from where he had left in Australia, and you'd find that his shot selection has improved manifold against England right through this series.
Yes, it's been some return to the team for Rishabh Pant since victory in Melbourne, the tour of Australia. Leach into Washington Sundar, who defends inside half of the bat, collected by leg slip. But Rishabh Pant has been in the thick of the action for India. He's been a fan favourite for his six hitting in the short form of the game. He leeches in once again to Sundar, who plays off the back foot wide of the man at mid wicket, and India will pick up another single. Partnership now, 41, equal with the best partnership of the innings so far. That was between Rohit and... who was that between?
Rahane.
Was it Rohit? Rahane, 41. Rahane went and the score was 80. Rohit went when... I think it was Rohit and Ashwin. Anyway...
No, Rahane.
Yes. There were there've not been big partnerships in this game. I think that's just to just to hammer down the point. 72 overs gone, 8 overs before the new ball, 187 for 6. Akash is still with us out there in Mumbai. How are the folks out there in India viewing Rishabh Pant now? He's more than a cult hero, somebody that they think that they can base a team, a lower middle order around.
You know, it's a very young career, Mark, and he's already seen quite a few shades of how people used to, or rather tend to respond. He was a favourite, a darling of everyone, the X-Factor player, somebody who could win matches on his own. He was flown to England for the World Cup 2019, by the way, as one of the replacement players with the hope that he is that guy that India is missing. And then he became a veritable pariah. Nobody wanted him. He was the only guy on that tour to New Zealand, I remember. In the entire white ball cricket leg, 5 T20s, 3 ODIs, he was the only guy in the squad who didn't play a single game, right? And now he's back to being one of the favourites, the guy who can actually win matches on his own. But just this time, I do feel that we are seeing a far more mature Rishabh Pant, who's unlikely to get carried away with what's been said and has been talked about him. And yes, once again, he's the rage again. He's the guy who's the future of Indian cricket and perhaps the present as well.
Akash, is he a lot fitter now as well?
He is lighter on the feet, you're absolutely right. I believe he's lost some 5 or 7 kgs.
Wow.
Route in to Washington Sundar, who plays an expert forward defensive stroke, and there's no run.
Can you send me his dietitian, please? I could do about 17 kgs.
We can get you a dietitian. I'm not sure we can do anything about your age, Goffy. As that route is in to Sundar, who's on the back foot, steers it down to Dom Sibley, who fields it deep backward square leg, and India come through for another single. I mean, how much would Rishabh Pant's life have changed post the extraordinary run chase in Brisbane? I mean, you know, the Indian cricketers are treated very differently to those of us who played in the UK for all our careers, but has that seen him elevated to a different status? Joe Root is in to Pant. Sorry, Akash, go ahead.
Well, yes, you're right. You're right, absolutely right. Obviously, the perception has changed, but these COVID times, I'm sure he hasn't experienced anything different from the people that he's interacted, because you can't meet many people, can you?
This is very true, yeah. Leave from Rishabh Pant, which is probably not quite as close to the off stump as Ben Foakes made out.
That's what he's been trying to do with Indy, that wide of the crease, drifting in just to try and clip off stump. Rishabh Pant going back to Joe Root.
Pant on the back foot, cuts, and is fielded by Dom Bess at backward point. And he's made an incredible splash since coming back into the Indian side for the Boxing Day test in Melbourne. Consistency added to the clear excitement that he brings as a batsman. Keeping's not been bad either, as Darren Gough was telling you before. Forward from Pant this time, defended into the offside, and the end of 73 overs, 188 for 6. Akash, the England have been on the end of some exquisite spin bowling from India. We expect that from Ashwin, perhaps not quite so expected to see Axar do what Jadeja has done to England so often in the past. But how have the Indian pundits viewed England's spinners? Jack Leach has done well. What about Dom Bess? Is there any sympathy for him out there?
A lot of admiration for Jack Leach. He's been that standout bowler. But Dom Bess, you do feel that he's not right up there at this point in time. He's showing signs of brilliance from time to time, but lacks consistency, and lack of consistency even on spinning pitches. I think then it's a recipe for just leaking runs, and Dom Bess is not viewed. I'm commentating with Harbhajan Singh, one of the legends of our game, and an off-spinner himself. He's not rating him too highly for sure.
Well, you said that sort of on turning pitches, Dom Bess missed the 2 matches where the ball was turning square, so you perhaps have a little bit of sympathy for him not to have played in either of those. But say hello to Budgie for me. I had the great pleasure of captaining him when he was a brown hatter, a Surrey player in the dim and distant past. As Leach is in round the wicket this time to left-handed Washington Sundar, again plays forward and defends it into the short leg area, and there's no run. Imagine, I don't think I ever faced Harbhajan Singh or Anil Kumble on anything like the second and third pitches that we saw in Chennai and Ahmedabad, and I'm quite grateful for that too, because it was hard enough as it was without it exploding in your face as well.
Saying that, we did face Matai Muralitharan at the Oval once on an absolute turner, if you remember. I think he got 17 or 18 wickets in that game.
16, yeah.
16. Wow.
As Leach is in to Washington Sundar. It was the first time I'd seen Muralitharan bowl.
That was unreal.
And I think I faced 12 balls consecutively off Muralitharan, all of which pitched on or just outside my leg stump, and they all fizzed past my shoulder. Didn't lay a bat on one of them.
That was a joke, that game. We just had a great year, hadn't we? We played some brilliant cricket against South Africa.
It certainly was a bit of an eye-opener. It was a bit different from the 5-man pace attack that we were playing against South Africa. As Leach is in to Pant, who comes down the pitch, and perhaps Leach saw him coming because he fired it leg side round the wicket to the left hand. Fired it a bit leg side. Pant had to reach and stretch to stop it from going past him. Ben Foakes was waiting, and as it is, Pant picks up a single. If that ball had just gripped a little bit more, it would have been past him and into the gloves of Ben Foakes. And we pretty much know what happens when Foakes gets it in his hands. The bails are off in a flash, but Pant survives. 51 for him now, 190 for 6. Sundar on the back foot knocks it down for 1. Just going back to that Sri Lanka game. So that after watching 12 balls flash past my outside edge, and with the increasing giggles from Jaya Surya and Jayawardene and co, Aravinda de Silva. Actually, Jayawardene might not have been playing in that test match. It was Aravinda.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I then ran down the wicket, the 13th ball, I think, and hit one over extra cover for 4. And thought, well, that's the only way I'm laying a bat on it. So I ran down at the next one and was run out rather than stumped. I was that far down. Oh, Pant goes up, bang, has smashed it over mid-wicket for 4. Sweep slog, 1 bounce, 4. And I wonder how long it'll be before Jack Leach goes back over the wicket again and tries to hit the footmarks, because Rishabh Pant has decided that the ball pitching on the good part of the pitch has got to go. 195 for 6. Akash, so the battle of the spinners has been won. Has what Akshar has done in this series surprised you or surprised cricket followers in India?
Well, we all thought that Ravindra Jadeja will be missed because he's been that key performer. He's been actually at times played ahead of Ashwin away from home. So you would expect to miss him, but and that was quite visible actually in the first Test match when Shahbaz Nadeem was playing. Akshar was unavailable, but since then it's come as a very pleasant surprise. All of us knew that he's capable of taking wickets because he's played a lot of first-class cricket for Gujarat in the Ranji Trophy circuit. But this kind of performance, see, I'd be lying if I say that we expected this to happen. He'll come and he'll take 3 fifers back to back. Pitches have been to his liking, yes, but he's been remarkably good.
Certainly has. Thanks, Akash. Go back and join Harbhajan in the studio there in Mumbai as Root is in to Washington Sundar, who tries to play the ball with a straight bat into the leg side against the spin, gets an inside edge, an outside edge, leading edge that dribbles back down the pitch. Joe Root fields.
I think what's been good about this Test match is, but I said yesterday, I think it's the best I've seen India bowl this whole series with seam and spin.
Forward defensive again from Washington Sundar.
And take Dom Bess out of it, I think this has been an excellent performance from England in the field with the ball. I think Stokes and Anderson have been out of this world. I think Jack Leach has bowled well. Joe Root's played his part, and I feel
back foot this time as Sundar looks as good as anybody defensively at the moment in the game.
But I feel for Dom Bess, I really do, purely because, as I say, he was taking wickets, playing in Test match cricket, got left out of a game on the biggest turner we've played on, and then he's come back in with the added pressure. So I actually feel a little bit for Dom.
As Joe Root is in, well, yeah, I mean, Sundar is on the back foot, forces it between point and extra cover, and they pick up a single. India 1-9, 6 for 6, just 9 runs behind now. Yeah, I have every sympathy. I mean, you imagine the confidence boost that he would have got from bowling on either of those two pitches, Ahmedabad or the second one, in Chennai. But it wasn't to be. He's not in the side. He has picked up a couple of 5-wicket hauls in his time for England in the last 14 months. Ball passes the outside edge of Rishabh Pant's bat, shoulders, arms, in fact, and it goes through to Ben Foakes, and there's no run.
I mean, they've been worried about him becoming Jason Krejci. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to, isn't it? That they've been worried that Rohit Sharma is going to hit him completely out of the attack and he won't be able to come back. It does make sense, even if it didn't quite work out the way they wanted.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose... But then you go back to management then, don't you? And say, well, England must have had a clue that Moeen Ali was going home. They must have looked at the two surfaces. I mean, we can now surmise that they looked at both surfaces in Ahmedabad and at Chennai and got them completely and utterly wrong. I mean, only playing one specialist spinner in the second match in Ahmedabad. And, England at the moment, going back to this game specifically, 9 runs ahead. England have been in a holding pattern really since tea time, because they'd have loved to have bowled one of their seamers, but they can't because they know they have to keep them fresh for the new ball.
Well, they're a seamer short.
They tried to start with 2 off spinners after the break, not because they thought they were the 2 best bowlers, but because there were 2 left-handers in. And I wonder how often, in the modern game, and perhaps Bats is the only live player we have here. Although he needs that super strong coffee to make him look alive these days. Is how much of these decisions are made by preconceived ideas or by sort of things that you get thrown up by statisticians, or how much of them are done by looking at what's going on in front of you and making the right call at the time?
Well, no one's ever listened to me. So
exactly.
Having been around it with England, there is a lot of people there who's making decisions, stats. Which bowlers have got success at grounds, how big the boundaries are on one side to the other side, how he gets his runs against spin or seam. That all comes into play. Then you've got a selector who loves all that stuff, doesn't he, as well? That's how he got the job. So he's involved. You've got Gilo, the director of cricket. He's out there at this moment in time. You've got the head coach. You've got 2 assistant coaches. You've got the captain. You've got the vice captain. There's a lot of people making decisions on who's going to play each game. And I think it has been premeditated selection. I really do. And that goes back to the selection of some players going home after 1 test, somebody going home after the 2nd test, somebody going after the 3rd test.
But bearing in mind, I mean, England have known. You know, I wrote down in my notes before the first test match in India, I went from Sri Lanka to India, and I knew, apart from Moeen Ali, I knew who was going home when they were going, when they were coming back. So you can't use any of that stuff as an excuse, because England had this planned out. They knew who was going home. What I'm saying to you is they've turned up on 2 decks in consecutive test matches in the same venue.
And got
they
it wrong.
completely misread the pitch in the first one and have completely misread the pitch in the second one.
Or have they? Or they're just scared of the batting and the depth of it and played an extra batter. We won't know that unless we actually ask them an honest question. Did you pick Lawrence purely because you were scared of having a long tail like they did the last game? Or did they just did not think it was going to be beneficial for the seamers to bowl on it? As it has been. Both seamers now, this is the most the seamers bowled for England, I think, in the series, isn't it? 17 overs each they've bowled.
I don't think Stokes has bowled this much on the entire tour so far.
He's now equal with the amount of overs he bowled on the entire tour.
Yeah.
He's doubled his account.
Almost in a spell.
In a spell, yeah, almost. He's now, he's about to bowl his 18th. He had 17 overs on the clock in this series before this morning. Stokes is in, over the wicket to the left-handed Washington Sundar. That ball keeps a little bit low, whether that was because of the lack of rat power behind it from Ben Stokes as he goes into another spell, or whether the ball hit an indifferent part of the surface. We're not too sure. Probably, I'm going to go with it being a real loosener from Ben Stokes. And there's no run.
I think the other real noticeable thing about him is he just looks so uncomfortable bowling with that brand new ball. Trying to pitch it up and swing it away, he couldn't control it. The minute the ball got older, he just looked like such a better bowler. He could just run in and bowl as fast as he wanted and use the surface a bit more.
And goes Stokes, bouncer this time. Sundar is underneath it safely. Gareth Batty joins us. A man who is alive. You are alive, aren't you? As a cricketer and as a broadcaster.
Well, I woke up this morning, so I'm prodding myself. I'm still here.
And we've had
good to go.
Interesting conversation about Batty's beans as well, which is something that I don't know, perhaps has never come up before in a cricket radio broadcast, but they are very good.
Might be a new business for me. That it's got a bit of a chime to it, hasn't it?
Stokes is in to Washington Sundar, wide of off stump. Sundar forward, shoulders, arms. It goes through to Ben Foakes. You're listening to commentary of the 4th Test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team writing with an edge. It's been an excellent day if you're just joining us for England. They started the day having only made 205 in the first innings on what everybody considers to be the best all-round surface of the series so far, but have fought back, led by heroic efforts of Ben Stokes, who picked up the wicket of Kohli for a duck. Another short ball from Stokes flies through to Ben Stokes, and there's no run. Kohli, who he's dismissed now 5 times in Test match cricket for a duck with a short ball that he could only fend to Ben Foakes behind the stumps. He also then picked up England's bogeyman in the series so far. In fact, the only batsman that's really had any mastery and command of conditions that we've seen in Rohit Sharma for 49. And England have been in there battling. They found life a little bit tough post tea. And the deficit now for India is 9. And they have 4 wickets in hand on the first innings. Make that 8 as Washington Sundar turns Stokes away into the leg side for a single.
Without wanting to go over old ground, though, I was listening as pre-coming on air to the discussion you guys were having. And all generations will have different ways of doing things. I think the generation we're in now, there's lots of outside information. There's lots of people who do brilliant work. That doesn't mean to say that everything is gospel. It's the sort of leader of the group, the party, the team, whatever you want to call it, to dissect and take the bits of information that are relevant to you now.
Stokes. Pant looked as though he was going to pull that one and then changed his mind and played with a straight bat. Rishabh Pant seems to be struggling a little bit with a stiff back. He just took some painkillers between overs after the last over from Joe Root. 197 for 6 now. India just 8 runs behind. 4 first innings wickets standing. Perhaps most importantly, Rishabh Pant is one of them. He's 55 not out. Washington Sundar is 25 not out. Gareth Batty will tell us more about the myriad of opinions and voices in modern dressing rooms, after which it'll be Neil Manthorpe.
And I suppose sort of stats on grounds, stats on teams are all relevant within reason, but it's a broad spectrum at times, and grounds do change. This is a new ground. This is new information that we would have been given. Some grounds you don't have information, or it's from 20 years ago, or it's from a series where the surfaces were very different because of team makeups. I think you have to be very careful how you use the information. To go off on a tangent and go Moneyball and everything has worked once in baseball, but they didn't actually win anything. They won an accumulation of games, but they didn't win the trophy at the end of it. So we got to be very careful how we use this information, and there is a huge place for it in modern day cricket, modern day sport. The game is evolving. We have to use that information, but I think also we have to put a little bit of context to people that understand the game from a different side of it as well. There's a place for it all.
Here's Joe Root, begins a new over, thick inside half of the bat from Washington Sundar to short leg Ollie Pope Fields. I don't think we have to use it, Bats. I think we should be aware of it. But do you know what I mean? We should have as much information as possible, but we should have it rather than we should have to use it.
But that's how it's given across. Just on the Moneyball thing, just so you know, almost every baseball team has won using Moneyball by now.
Here's Root, pushes out to cover again. No run, 197.
The Oakland Athletics did not win
with
that
Brad Pitt in
particular.
charge. Not with Brad Pitt in charge, my friend. I watched that movie. It did not win in the end.
Jonah Hill goes to another team and they win, I promise you. But I think it's mostly, I see it as a conversation, but I think Joe Root is a very algorithmic-driven person. If you watch him bat, especially.
Root again, but it's defensively Sundar. Still India remain just 8 runs behind, 197 for 6.
We talked to KP about that method of either going forward or going back. No batsman in world cricket has nailed that more than Joe Root, and that would have been something that he was told by KP, probably through the Royal Dravid letter.
Here's Root once again. Forward comes Sundar, no run.
And then he's been working with the England analysts and coaches on the same thing. It's exactly the same with his bowling. He doesn't bring himself on until he thinks there's a matchup that is in his favour. That's how he thinks. And I think when you're working with those sorts of people, you know, from an analyst perspective.
Here's Root again, and Sundar forward, then back, and plays defensively again, no run.
There are so few occasions I say you have to do this. If Zach Crawley was batting at the moment, and India weren't using the left arm finger spinner, I would probably throw my laptop onto the field to get a message on to say bring him on. It's very rare that ever happens. Mostly you're just giving information.
Root again. Oh, and he's tossed one up and it's spun, and he invited the drive, and Washington Sundar threw his hands and body at that drive, and it's spun, and I think it spun so much it beat the outside edge and just deflected off Ben Foakes' left glove towards Ben Stokes at slip. That was an interesting delivery. 197 for 6.
We have seen Root operate like this, just chucking it wide in those footholds. The footholds in this game are not quite as big yet as we have seen in the previous couple of games, because they were sort of, let's say, expanded a little bit sooner than maybe normally we're used to seeing. So that's quite smart from Root, just to chuck one out there to show it's spinning. To then go back to the normal stuff. Sorry, Gerard.
No, I mean, just on that, again, we've seen him also bowl leg spin when he bowls to right-handers. Like, when I say he's an algorithmic cricketer, it's almost like he does do that. So he's the sort of person, as an analyst, I'd actually be careful with, because you don't want to give him so much information that he goes away from his sort of natural instincts, because he's a really good cricketer. Or there are other players that I've worked with where I give them extra information because I know that eventually something's going to seep in.
Ben Stokes, edge just over the head of second slip. Oh, that was so close. This time it's Rishabh Pant throwing his hands at a full one. A bit of width on it. It was too tempting for him to leave alone, and he did throw his hands at it. He got a thick outside edge and Sibley dived as high as he could, but he just couldn't get fingertips to it.
Yeah, Ben Stokes again. He always makes things happen. This is all about the length of the ball. It's not too full, it's not too short. It's that good length It's a fraction wide. That's the only thing going for Rishabh Pant here. And like you said, man, as he threw his hands at it, he stays a bit leg side of the ball to create the width, and he flares, almost a bit baseball player style, trying to get it through point and up and over the slips.
Stokes this time a little straighter, and it is left alone by Rishabh Pant. Jared, I just sometimes, that, like, if you say to a player, you average 60 against right arm finger spin and you average 18 against left arm finger spin, and he might say, well, I'm not surprised. I scored 2 double hundreds last year against 2 off spinners on a flat track, and the last time I played against 2 left arm spinners, it was on a raging Bunsen, and we were about to declare, and there's context.
They always say that, and then generally look into the numbers that it doesn't stand up.
Short from Stokes, pulled away by Rishabh Pant through mid-wicket, and he's absolutely crunched that. This ball is in its 78th over. It's old and soft. Ben Stokes is giving it his absolute everything, but that one has come like a tennis ball to Rishabh Pant, and he's smashed it.
Oh, he's a crackerjack, this fella. He's so quick on his feet. He picks up length so quickly. He's bided his time. He's 94 balls into his innings before he's really pouncing. Ben Stokes, back of a length, not really an effort ball into trying to get that chin music going, and Pant up to the task. Quick on the pull shot, well in front of square. Wonderful shot.
Scores a level. India have 4 wickets in which to try and build their lead. Ben Stokes is getting into his delivery stride there, and the ball just squirms out of his fingers, and it actually went forward onto the pitch, and Ben Stokes kicked it away, much to the crowd's lack of humour. No, but he didn't bowl it. That's the point. It fell out of his hands as he was getting into the gather.
There was no chance somebody was walking up and having a bop at it, though.
If he'd gone through the bowling action, the batsman could theoretically have run up, and that's driven again through extra cover. There'll be more runs here as it's chased by Dan Lawrence. Shirt untucked, as it has been each test match he's played, because he uses it as a ball polisher as much as a shirt. And those 2 runs have given India the lead, 207 for 6. I am going to come back to you, Jared, about the contextualising of information. It must be relevant sometimes, surely, but that was... We'll do it at the end of the over, because I know you've got a lot to say on it, and I'm not in any way saying that your job isn't extremely valuable. Analytics has been underrated in cricket for a long time. Here is Ben Stokes once again, and that's nudged away for an easy single for Rishabh Pant out towards mid-wicket once again, and Rishabh Pant moves on to 66, and what an innings it's been. 208 for 6, lead by 3.
Yeah, and he's been quite expansive in this over. His last 3 shots, sort of big shots. The drive only went for 2, but it's a big, expansive shot. This time, Gone's back into sort of reining it in. He's back down to second gear, came into the pads, good length. Okay, I'll just knock that into mid-wicket. I'll take my single. He's just playing with great authority, great skill, and a great calmness, which we've not always said about Pant.
Very mature innings, isn't it? Here's Stokes. Oh dear me, that's a chest high, waist high, full toss, somewhere between waist high and chest high. Stokes apologises, and Washington Sundar fends the ball off out towards mid-wicket. It's called as a no ball, rightly so, by Nitin Menon. And as I said, Stokes apologised immediately. He must be a bit sweaty. That ball, no doubt, just slipped from his grasp. Maybe that's why the previous one slipped as well, as he was about to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, his second spell of the day, I think it was, he struggled with the footholds or his boots, or he's had some sort of issue with getting that base that you require to bowl. His front foot maybe not feeling solid, which explains why the odd one like that one came out wrong. Stokes
to complete the over, full and wide enough to be left alone by Rishabh Pant. 66, Washington Sundar 25, 209 for 6. India, they lead by 4 runs. Off you go, Jared.
Well, to follow up what you're saying is part of the job of analytics is to find the context of that situation. So I think you see it as a black and white issue, and there are certainly people in my job who just only look at the numbers, but there are lots of other factors to look at. Like if a player has a poor record coming around the wicket, my first thing is, do you practice coming around the wicket? I don't know if they do or not, but we need you to be able to bowl around the wicket because this batsman can't face it, and you have a poor record, so is there something that we need to do? But I can tell you, there was a batsman who came up to me and said, I know I have a low strike rate, but the reason I have a low strike rate is because my home ground is this ground, and it's one of the slowest scoring grounds in the world. I was like, that's fair enough. That could be completely true. And I had a look, and he had a higher strike rate at home than he did at anywhere else. And so straight away, you know, in his mind, that's why he had a slow strike rate, but it wasn't. He just wasn't playing the way that he needed to play.
I don't see it as a black and white thing at all. That's why here's Joe Root again, using his feet now. Rishabh Pant down the wicket and driving to Ollie Pope at short cover. Which is why I say, have as much information as you can gather, but be selective about how you use it.
I don't see my job as that much different to bats coaching a young player. There are things that you don't want to say to a player. There are things you don't want to say to, you know, a coach. You know, unless they're your boss, the general manager. It's probably the only person that you can be completely open with at some times.
Here's Root once again, desperate for a breakthrough now, and that's well left. It's into the footholds outside the left-hander's off stump, and he leaves it alone.
But it's also the same as, you know, if you're coaching a kid, or even if you know, there are lots of parents listening, and we don't tell our kids every bit of information, but we might, with that bit of information, try and plant a seed in the player's head to see if that can come good.
Sweep shot, and it's gone horribly wrong, but it'll result in runs. I think it's a bottom edge, and it's gone through past Ben Foakes behind the stumps and down to the boundary for 4. Rishabh Pant's got a bottom edge on that, I think, and it's just squirmed away all the way down to the boundary, and he moves up to 70. India 213 for 6. I just fancy Rishabh Pant is got hold of that gear stick again, and he's looking to change up.
Yeah, and Joe Root operating in that wideish rough again, and Pant looking for a big expansive sweep. This time it's just bounced out of the rough, and it's got the top edge, and gone over Stokes, who turned quickly to chase after it. But on this billiard table outfield, it's run off into the picket fence at the bottom end.
Here is Joe Root, and slog sweep, and he's picking up the tempo now. Is Rishabh Pant? That's 4 more. Oh, he's tucking into the old ball here, and suddenly, having kept a vice-like grip on the scoring rate and the test match, England are just beginning to lose control for the first time.
Yeah, it's just a matter of inches, just an inch straighter from Joe Root, so missing the rough. Rishabh Pant this time, similar sort of a shot, but no rough to contend with. Sweeps hard and in front of square. Wonderful shot. You can't really set a field for that sweep shot, hard and in front, without basically opening up gaps somewhere else. Wonderful shot from Pant.
Certainly was, and India's lead is only 12, but with Pant on 74 and 4 wickets in hand, it feels like more than 12. Here is Joe Root again, width outside the off stump, chopped away to backward point, straight to the fielder, and there is no run for once, a dot ball.
And for everybody that's at home listening, you can hear the crowd. It's not long you've got to wait. You don't have to wait too long until hopefully sporting venues are open here, because this is playing a huge advantage for Rishabh Pant. The crowd are right behind him. You can see him feeding off that.
Root again, big appeal for leg before wicket has gone straight on. He had a think about it, did Virender Sharma, and Joe Root's also having a think about it now. He's walking up to Ben Foakes and Ben Stokes, keeper and slip, and saying, what do you think? Root really fancied it, but I think it was a slider.
Got to.
They've got it. They're reviewing, I think, out of desperation more than anticipation. It just looked like it was a slider. It was quick, and I don't think that it turned enough to hold its line and straighten.
Review for leg before.
That was my initial view.
Umpire has given not out. Front on, please.
But here's the review. England do have 3 reviews. They've had a couple turned down, but they've been umpire's call. So has it gripped enough to straighten? Because it was certainly heading down the leg side from the hand. Has it gripped enough? There's no bat, right?
Pad first.
No bat.
It is pad only. Good for the ball tracking. When you are ready, please.
Impact is certainly in line.
Back in line. Wickets missing.
Missing leg stump.
Please.
Just didn't think it had enough on it to straighten.
No, I mean, it was a good decision from the umpire. The naked eye, you could very much understand why England have reviewed that, particularly with 3 reviews. Why not? With Pant actually just arresting a bit more initiative now and really coming at England before this second new ball, or even will England take it, but he's putting England under some pressure now with a lead of 12. Totally understand why it was reviewed, but God, blimey, there was no hold at all in the surface and just running on to miss by a good stump down the leg side, wasn't it?
I mean, the other thing that England can hope for now, and I know this is going to sound like straw clutching on an Olympic scale, but they might just hope that it slows Pant down a bit, just breaks his rhythm a bit. He was on a bit of a roll there, wasn't he?
Olympic straw pulling, wow, that's a new one.
Straw clutching.
Clutching, sorry.
The new Olympic sport.
They've got to put a new one in every time, haven't they?
Well, I mean, they've got breakdancing in the next games.
Get in there, why not? Why not? Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating point in the game. You've just felt like England have had the upper hand for the first two sessions of the day, and they've controlled the scoreboard, and this is the first time, this last sort of 45 minutes of play, where it's basically Rishabh Pant, supported very well by Washington Sundar. They've just arrested that initiative. England are not controlling the scoreboard, and this is where, in the subcontinent, this last session, when everybody's a bit tired, a bit weary, the game can be taken away from you, and quickly.
You're listening to commentary of the fourth test between India and England here on TalkSport 2, with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team writing with an edge. I think it's time for Mark Nicholas to take over. Earlier we had Mark was describing Washington Sundar being on the charge, and there was this picture of a 1780s man on horseback waving a sword and charging at the British, but it's not George Washington. It's pity his nickname's not George. Anyway, here is Mark Nicholas.
Isn't it?
No, it's Washy.
As in Cyril. Cyril Washbrook, wasn't it? It was Washy. 71 they put on. Oh, Rishabh Pant 74. Washy 25. 217 for 6. And there was a period really from about 175 where they started to get control. They were milking it very well. It was an in-out field. They found singles pretty easy to come by. They didn't have to hit boundaries, and England's control was not relinquished but certainly marginalised during that period. And then since then, of course, they hit the accelerator a bit. 71 partnership that's come mainly in favour of Pant. 25 of them scored by Sundar, but it's made for great watching today, because all the elements of Test cricket, that intensity, that ebb and flow, belonging to one side, belonging to the other, and the high quality of some of the play, particularly with the bat from Rishabh Pant and with the ball from Jimmy Anderson, has been really something.
Oh, it's been fantastic to just look behind the eyes of some of these players and understand what they're trying to achieve for this period. And Pant has had some really tough periods where all the bowlers have bowled well at him and made him have to really earn his runs, and you could see just that little switch, as you said, Marky. It started off with a trickle of singles and rotating the strike, and then all of a sudden pounced on one ball, and then a flurry of boundaries, and now he's off and running, and that momentum is starting to come a little bit quicker for India. But make no mistake, India will have their say. England will have their say, though. One of the bowlers will come back with that steely determination just to rein the initiative back and just hold that scoring rate. A wicket it might be. It might be a period of 2 or 3 maidens. It's been a fantastic encounter today. It really has. Ebbed and flowed.
You might be wondering why we're not commentating on any cricket, and the answer is that we think that they've just taken an extra drinks break on the basis of the heat. It's registering 38 degrees, but apparently feeling like 41 degrees. And that's hot. And of course, down, well, at this time of year, it can get quite humid. So it's pretty demanding for the players out there. Looks like we're ready to go with Ben Stokes. Still not quite the new ball. 1 over to go. And Stokes bangs that ball into the pitch. That old, soft, chewed ball, and it's defended on the back foot by a very comfortable looking Washington Sundar.
I'm not sure whether they'll take the new ball or not, Mark, with the attack that they have now. Lots of overs in Stokes and Anderson. Are they fresh enough, both of them, to take it? Will they want a spinner to take it? I think I'd be holding with the old ball and trying to somehow stem the flow and possibly then use it for a newer batter. What do you think?
Well, they've got Anderson back out on the field. He'd been off for an hour. So he can't bowl for how long? It's 45 minutes, isn't it? You had a 15 minutes grace, so that will decide that for them, which is why Ben Stokes is bowling now with the old ball. So that's unravelled that. They won't be taking the new ball unless he wants to give it to the spinners, of course, as Sundar goes back and defends firmly to mid-off for no run. I can only begin to imagine how frustrated Joe Root must feel. A case of Sonier so far, both in the performance with the bat and now in the opportunity with the ball. Certainly it's been a higher standard performance with the ball, but to have missed out yesterday, not to have passed 300, must be just killing him inside. And now to have had them 6 down for 154, whatever it was, 146. Oh dear. Anyway, it's such a cruel game like that as Sundar goes back and drives out onto the offside where there's a sweeper, and you know, the history of the game, the cricket's never been any different. It eats away at you for the things that might have gone your way that don't, and then you just have to find a way, don't you, to have the patience and the courage to fight back.
Hence the selection dilemma that Goffey and Harmy have been talking about. We're a seamer light, but the flip side of that is India have gone for the seamer light, but they've gone the extra batting with Sundar, and he's making the difference for them right now in this partnership. So you can only go with what you've selected and make it work for you, like you said, Mark.
I just heard that Anderson was off for the first hour of the post tee. I don't know. The answer is we don't have any contact to India as Pant goes back and pushes that ball out to the man behind square, actually on the offside on the boundary. So sort of backward cover sweeper, and he gets a single. He has 75, Sundar has 26. It's 219 for 6. We don't have any contact with India, so we're not able to find out things, and we rely on the television pictures here in our London studio. So we'll try to establish exactly when Anderson can bowl, but we don't have anybody that we can pick up the phone to and ask at the moment, I'm afraid. But I would think the signal perhaps maybe that Stokes has bowled a few overs before the time of the new ball, that ball left alone, by the way, outside off stump, means that he isn't planning to bowl with a new ball.
No, unless it's to try and get him into his spell for 2 or 3 overs, and then him only go a couple of overs with that newer ball. Maybe break it up with a bit of spin for then Jimmy to come in at the, sort of 6 or 7 overs into the new ball to try and break up the spin and fast bowling options, so you've got one at each end.
Now a nice little punch down the ground. Very good stroke. Wow. Washington Sundar with a dead straight bat hits a dead straight 4.
Effortless from Sundar. This keeps his balance neutral, which is basically the key to the shot, and then ultimately just drops the bat down on the ball in a straight line and hits it through that straight mid on just the leg side of the stumps. It's a beautiful shot, this. You can tell this man has played a lot of first class cricket as a batsman alone without his off spin. He does line the ball up fantastically well, and that natural angle around the wicket makes the shot potentially even harder, that he doesn't fall across it and stays upright, and bang, just full face down the ground. Beautiful shot. Timing was impeccable.
Well, I have to say it, I really think this is the time that England are feeling the fact they got the attack wrong for the match. It's irrelevant to me in terms of discussing the balance of the side whether Lawrence's innings was so valuable. Of course it was, but in working out the balance of the team, you're trying to take 20 wickets in the match, and there's no doubt that this attack looks jaded now. 2-2-3 for 6 as England will take the new ball. It is James Anderson, so that period off the field has now been covered by the time back on the field, and he's available, and that'll be great for Anderson because he's they're now saying he wasn't off for an hour, so you see we can't see all that. Saying he was only off for a very short time. So.
Could have been an external blow maybe as well, which the time doesn't count at all, does it? An external blow, maybe copping on the finger at mid off or something.
Right. Well, I'm sorry for the confusion, but please don't blame us. We get what information we can, and sometimes clearly it isn't right. England are taking the second new ball, and hopefully James Anderson will find his best form and a bit of magic to come with it. I think back to that first wicket at Lord's, a bit of a skunk haircut. Remember the young Jimmy? Well,
yeah,
you'd remember very well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Here he comes then. Anderson to Pant, comes down the pitch, slaps him back over his head. Wow, the arrogance of youth, the expression of talent.
Well done, Rishabh Pant.
England fan or not, you've got to admire this. This is brilliant from Pant. First ball to the great Jimmy Anderson. He's been magnificent this innings. Skips down the pitch, gets a bit offside of the ball, but not too close that he can't get that full flow of the bat. Almost what you'd see in a one-day international. Open the batting, run down, smacked him straight into the advertising boards. Welcome back into the attack, Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah, here we go again. What now from Pant? A bit shorter this time, and he slaps it through extra cover. Brilliant stroke play, 4 more. A flat bat, rolling his wrists on the stroke, and Pant is saying this hard ball is going to fly to the rope.
Always the danger with the new ball subcontinent when you've been holding the game a little bit. But Pant, the skill levels of what he shows when he's so expansive, the way he positions his body leg side of the ball to allow his wrists to do the hitting so he can hit over the ball and into it, almost like a tennis player would hit a forehand to keep the ball on the ground, to eradicate that bit of risk because of the width. He's phenomenal from this young fella. He has all the talent in the world.
Anderson again. Bangs it into the surface, drives on the up, does Pant, but it's fielded by Dom Bess at short extra cover, and the crowd almost moan their frustration at not getting a 4 ball. Yes, that last stroke, the flat bat through extra cover, if you'd frozen the finish, it could have been the 1930s, couldn't it? And those huge strides those guys took, bent their front leg, got down low, and then wrapped the bat round their shoulders as they finished the shot. It was quite something, as it was to play those shots on some of the pitches they played on back then. Anderson again, 2 slips and a gully in place because they're expecting the new ball to move, and that's a beauty! Beats him outside off stump. Anderson getting it to bounce and nip and fly into Ben Folkes' upturned mitts.
And we've seen this all day. One team, one player gets the advantage and the opposition come back. James Anderson, do not write this man off. He's around the wicket. He's got this ball to leave Rishabh Pant on a great length, back of a length. He's got him fencing at the ball. He's bringing those 2 slip catches into play. Unfortunate for Anderson. Fortunate for Pant, he misses by an inch.
Anderson again. And Pant knocks it down to mid-on and gets a single, which will really annoy Anderson. There really shouldn't have been a single, other than the fact that Pant took a little bit off the ball with the softness of his shot. But just put yourself into James Anderson's mind for a minute, everybody. Imagine how he feels about Rishabh Pant running down the pitch and hitting him back over his head and then through the covers. Think how badly he wants Pant's wicket. Firstly for himself and the pride of the moment, 2 dominant male figures, 2 egos going at each other, and secondly for the team, the breakthrough for the team to lift spirits and think about bowling India out this evening. Crucial wicket if Anderson could get it. Here he comes to Washington Sundar. Pulls a nice ball and Sundar plays it very calmly. Nice and late, watches it closely onto the bat. It goes to cover, there's no run. Little skip and jog down the pitch from Ben Folkes, who's always athletic looking. He's a tall man for a wicketkeeper, is Ben Folkes, and England players generally jostling around the place and suggesting the body language is still good out there. There's no labouring. And how they need a wicket with this new ball. I assume that Ben Stokes will continue. It does look as if Ben Folkes has gone deep again rather than up to the stumps. There might have been a temptation to try Jack Leach lobbing it into the rough, but equally they might have been worried about Pant looking to get after him. Hummy, you're with us. Hello. The great Steve Harmison.
I think I'm with you. Yes, I am with you, Mark. Yes, it's what an interesting last over. Pant played beautifully, absolutely beautifully. We've seen both sides of Rishabh Pant in this series so far. You know, the explosiveness of the first Test match. I think this has been a brilliant innings, an absolute fantastic innings. He's got India back in the game, but I think his mindset's been magnificent, and this is going to be some battle between Pant and Stokes with the new ball.
And Stokes bowls full and Pant drives him really hard off the inside edge in a direction to which he was not aiming, but for which he earns 4. So he's thinking mid-off, it shoots through mid-on, the fielder at mid-on's wide, beats him easily, rushes to the boundary.
Yeah, that was a fantastic. I was going to say that's a fantastic shot. Actually, do it some justice there. He just come over to my side, a little bit of whip, and Ben Stokes is.
No, good call. No, good call. I'm with you now. Having seen that replay on TV, and now he eases him through mid-off. And is there a single in that? Yes, there is. I think you're right. I think he, from way outside off stump, that boundary, he thought, come over to my side, and fetched it and shut the face on it and picked his spot.
I thought when I first seen it, I thought it was one of my shots. I'm aiming in one direction and it goes in a completely different direction. Typical tail ender. But no, I thought he was total control. He knew what he was doing there. Come over to my side. I remember batting a few times with the Graham Thorpe at the end, at the death, and we're expressing himself, got a few on the board and playing shots like that's a shot Thorpe would play outside off stump, fetch it onto the leg side where the more gaps are.
Stokes again, and that's a beautiful stroke by Washington Sundar. Ooh, yeah, special. The top of the bounce, off the back foot, through point, another boundary, and this new ball is very costly. I think Root had to take it, but the lead is now 36. It's 241 for 6 the score.
Yeah, I agree. England did have to take it, but a lot of the times when the new ball comes, it can travel, it can go the distance. I like this guy. I think this guy is you mentioned there, special talent. I like the way when he first came into bat, there was a little bit of pressure on him. Used his feet first couple of balls to the spinner out the rough. It looked as though he wasn't bothered about the baggage, what had happened in the overs previous and wickets lost. He was coming in to play his game, and boy, is he playing his game well now.
Sundar's gone to 34. Here's Ben Stokes, much straighter, and that draws the defensive stroke from Sundar. Panther's 89, by the way, from just 110 balls, and yet it doesn't feel he's had his foot on the gas until the last 10 minutes or so. A lead of 36 for India, still with 4 of their first innings wickets in hand. An hour and a half ago, England had real hope here, really. Even an hour ago, thinking of bowling India out and having an advantage and getting going on it tonight, but excellent cricket has taken that away from them, truth be told. The standard of batting that India found today and England couldn't find yesterday. They found it in the nick of time, and that flies over gully as Sundar slashes outside off stump to a short ball. He gets a thick edge. So often it favours the brave, that shot, if you really go at it, and that's what happened there. 4 more. Oh, India rollicking along now.
A bit of width, just a little bit of width for Sundar to get his hands free. It was a good shot. He's hit it uppish, but I think he's trying to hit it uppish. I think he's trying to go over the infield, use the hardness of the new ball, go with the bounce and the pace that Ben Stokes brings. So yes, it went in the air, but I think he was in total control, and Washington Sundar knew what he was doing.
1 ball in the over left. Stokes left alone outside off stump. It's a full ball and goes through to Ben Foakes at waist height. So a lively old over with India 245 for 6 now, and a reminder that you're listening to commentary of the 4th test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team led by Lizzie Ammon and former captains Mike Atherton and Sir Alistair Cook. Be interesting to read Athers tomorrow. He was understandably tetchy about England's batting yesterday. Today I'm sure he'll commend a bowling performance that in the end was run out of steam in the face of this superb partnership that's touching on 100. They put a 99 together, this pair.
Is it safe to say the insecurities of selection has cost England in this? And what I mean by that is, because they're not getting any runs at the top of the order, they've gone for 1 extra batsman, which has cost them an extra bowler. And actually this extra bowler at this point of the day, even more so now, we've talked about it earlier, but the extra bowler now, with Dom Bess not bowling at his best, that's what's costing England.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right, Anderson. Oh no, Rishabh Pant has just reverse paddled him. Incredible shot. I've never seen it in a test match against a new ball bowler of any class, never mind James Anderson, and even he has to admit that is special. You can see it on his face. It's a face that says, okay, that's a fair cop. I kid you not,
He has reverse lapped Anderson over first slip's head for 4.
That is a beauty. What a shot this is. This is Jimmy Anderson. This is 600 Test match wickets. This is a brand new ball. This is no respect whatsoever from the Indian batsman over the top of first slip. Interesting to see what Anderson comes back with.
Takes him into the 90s and he defends on the back foot. He wants a single, but they don't get it. Yeah, what he's saying is that, you know, Anderson's tired. It's a nice pace. The ball's hard. This is the time to score off it. That's an amazing shot. We're just watching the replay. Incredible head position as he watches the ball right onto the face of the bat, and he gets a lot of it. Actually, more over over first slip. It's over first slip, and it goes one bounce over the rope. Never mind the shot of the day, the shot of the series, the shot of the winter. Remember what Rishabh Pant did to the Australians in Brisbane to see India home in that series. Brilliant batting again today. Down the pitch to Anderson he comes, but this time Anderson's wise to it and tightens him up, gets it really sharp into his hips, and he misses the attempted glance, and it hits him and drops down, and then he sort of skips around the ball a bit, and Anderson follows through and kicks it towards the stumps, but by then Pant is home and safe.
And for me, Mark, I've always been a big believer of having the when you're talking about wicketkeeper batsmen, having the best batsman. You know, being able to catch the ball, yes, gloveman, best gloveman, but for me, this ends the argument of having the best batsman as your wicketkeeper. Relinquish a little bit on the skill level from catching from the keeping point of view, even though Pant has kept wicket very, very well so far in this series. He's not India's best gloveman, but boy, he is the best option when it comes to the bat, because like in Brisbane, he got India over the line, and in this game here and in this series, for me, far outweighs any argument you can throw at me about having the best gloveman, especially in the subcontinent, because he's proved that many times in this series that he's not only kept India in the series, but he's actually potentially going to put them in a position where they're going to go and win it now.
Well, let me tell you the story of how he got in the side, because in the first Test match in Australia, Wriddhiman Saha, who's also made a Test match 100 by the way, and is the best gloveman in India, was in the side. India were bowled out for 36, a debacle. So they decided to strengthen their batting, and a way to do that was to get Rishabh Pant into the side. As Anderson bowls a short ball, he goes on the pull, and it doesn't carry out to deep backward square leg, so he gets a single for it. Big Dom Sibley, a slim looking Dom Sibley does the fielding. A lot of weight shed there, I'd say, over the last months. Looks very fit, does Big Dom. And so he gets into the side, plays well, stays in the side, wins the Test in Brisbane, becomes irreplaceable. So they come back to India where they want the best gloveman, because there's going to be spinners bowling at both ends, at least 2 if not 3 through the series against England, but he can't be dropped. He's made such a strong case for himself, he can't be dropped. He stays in the side, and as Sundar goes back and works a single to the leg side. Is it 2, is it? Yes, it's 2. Very well placed shot, just off his hip is Sundar against Anderson there. 252 for 6 now, just to finish that story. So they say, well, we can't drop him from the side, and by which time he's worked hard on his fitness and his wicket keeping, and that begins to show itself. He keeps well, he moves better, he bats brilliantly in that first Test, and the consequence is he's now a dead cert. It's sort of funny how things happen. That's a straight ball that Sundar punches to mid-wicket off a good length. Doesn't get a run for it. He has 40, Pant has 94, and we'll have the strike at the start of the next over. India 252 for 6, a lead of 147. It just shows from ill fortune, being bowled out for 36 and having to leave out Wriddhiman Saha simply to strengthen the batting, so came this startling new career, or second career I should call it, for Rishabh Pant, one of the world's great talents. He's on 94, Sundar on 40, and here's Mark Butcher.
Thanks, Mark. What a partnership this has been for India. Match winning, potentially. Series winning, potentially. 106 between Pant and Washington Sundar. 252 for 6. The lead is only 47. I say only with with stress and emphasis, because 47 to England, given the way that they've batted in the last 6 innings, is quite a sizable amount. Pant has played quite magnificently and has decided pretty much since tea that it was time to put the foot down. Since he's seen the new ball, he's enjoyed himself immensely, playing shots with great impunity, and even taking the mickey out of the great Jimmy Anderson with a reverse sweep over 2 slips.
You said since he's seen the new ball, he didn't really have a good look at it, did he? He literally went from the first ball.
We saw it come out of the box.
Literally when he saw there was a new ball.
He watched them take it out of the box and said, "I'm having a piece of that, thank you very much." And yeah,
You know you're seeing them well when you're seeing them out the box.
absolutely. He's thinking out of the box, seeing it out of the box and smashing it out of the ground as Joe Root is in, and Pant with a slog sweep has hit it all the way for 6. What a way to bring up a 3rd Test match 100. An absolutely stunning return for the young man from Haridwar, from Uttarakhand state, where the Ganges come out of the foothills of the Himalayas. It has been a quite astonishing re-emergence from this youngster since coming back into the side in the Boxing Day Test match in Sydney. Scores of 97, 89 not out in Brisbane, 91 in Chennai, 58 not out in the second match in Chennai. He, along with everybody else, missed out in the first instalment of Ahmedabad, but he now has a 3rd Test match 100. And this one, as Root is in again, he's on the back foot, punching into the offside, turns down a single, and this one, like the one in Brisbane before it, may well be series defining. What an innings, Steve Armisen.
What an innings, what a shot. We are in one of the great cricket stadiums, or to be great cricket stadiums for years and years to come. 110,000, and that's the only shame that we haven't got 110,000 people in this stadium, because that's what this innings deserved. It was a fantastic innings, and what a way to get there. It was more one-handed slog sweep for 6, but it's been an absolute beauty innings. It's been patient, been watchful, and then when the new balls come, he's attacked, and he's attacked with purpose.
Yorker from Root, dug out by Rishabh Pant to the man on the fence at point, comes in and collects the ball. Pant turns over the strike to Washington Sundar. Just watching replays of the moment that Pant reached his 100. Virat Kohli left his seat, went charging down the steps to applaud his young charge, as did the rest of the Indian team. Rishabh Pant, with his eyes closed, kisses his glove and says a silent prayer to whom we don't know. But it has been wonderful entertainment, it really has. Joe Root brings a defensive stroke out of Washington Sundar, who has played quite beautifully and as technically proficiently as any batsman we've seen in the match so far. He has 40 from 90, with all eyes, perhaps not a billion pairs of them, but a sizable chunk of that extraordinarily large population of India will be watching and listening to every moment of this innings from Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, there's always a agreement, disagreement whether the new ball is the right thing to do. It was 100% the right thing to do for England to take the new ball with Stokes and with Anderson. But Rishi Pant has completely changed the course of this innings in the space of 3.4 overs. From the very, very first ball of that new ball, he signalled his intent. We've got a little bit of a lead, 10-15 run lead, and we're now going to make the most of it. England bowlers are tired, the ball's hard.
Defensive stroke again from Sundar, from Root around the wicket. I couldn't agree with him more, Steve. I mean, England had no choice. They had to take the new ball. Yeah. Unfortunately, Ben Stokes had to bowl 3 overs before it was available. And England are on their knees a little bit. It was the only option they had to take wickets, as Root is in once more to Sundar, who again plays a glorious, if there is such a thing, forward defensive stroke. And there's no run. 84 overs gone, 259 for 6 here on TalkSport 2. It was the only option England had. But unfortunately, they put it in the hands of 2 bowlers who probably shot their bolt halfway through the afternoon session.
And like I said earlier, Butch, it's about keep banging on about the selection, the selection of this team and the selection of the last few teams, but it's their deficiency of not having runs at the top of the order to pick in the extra batsman, which then gets the one bowler short, which has been, if there was ever a point where it was so apparent that they needed that one bowler, it was in this situation here, because Jimmy Anderson and Ben Stokes having to take the ball after Ben Stokes had bowled 3 overs previous, and it's going to come down. That's not cost them. It's not going to cost them the series or anything like that, because there's a lot of other factors that come into it.
No runs for a start.
Well, that's, if you don't get any runs, you ain't getting. It doesn't matter what bowling attack you've got. You know, you could have, like we said in the last test, if you get bowled out for 112, you could have Murali and Warne bowling on that surface, and you're still not winning a test match. So,
well, they might. Anyway, Anderson is into Pant, and he's gone. He's come down the pitch, he's taken one liberty too many and has flat batted it into the hands of Joe Root at mid-wicket. It's a sharp catch from the England captain. Rishabh Pant admonishes himself at giving his wicket away, with England at his mercy, really. But it has been a magnificent innings once more. He perhaps hasn't driven home that advantage to the extent to which he would have liked, but the Motera, now known as the Narendra Modi Stadium, stands as one and cheers as one at a young man who has the future of the Indian cricket team in his hands, you would imagine. And just watching the replay, the ball has been hit violently, fiercely, straight at Joe Root at mid-wicket. Root takes the catch. Anderson has his wicket. A little bit of revenge for England's highest wicket taker. But the stage belongs to Rishabh Pant.
Absolutely, Butch. You know, standing ovation for what small crowd is in there. But it was a fantastic catch by Root. Good planning by Joe and as England captain, and Jimmy Anderson as Premier fast bowler. They went with extra feelers on the leg side, took slip out of play, left one slip, and basically said, right, we're going to try and bowl a bit shorter, have men on the boundary on the leg side, 2 men out on the leg side, and if he hits it for 6, well, you know, it's his day anyway. He's over 100 not out. He hits it for 6. So it was good strong shot. Very, very good catch. And does it give England a glimmer of hope? 54 runs behind.
Well, it certainly does. But they need to wrap this up pronto. Probably within the next 20 runs or so. Akshar Patel is the man at the crease. He's no mug with the bat either. Seen him make important runs, quick runs in T20 cricket, playing for Kings 11 Punjab, so he can wield a bat, he can find the boundary. Washington Sundar, his partner at the other end, 40 from 92. Both left-handers can play. And England's work is not done as yet, but they'll be feeling a lot more relaxed about things now that Rishabh Pant is out of the picture.
Big boom and smile on Jimmy Anderson's face, and after the day he's had and the surfaces he's had to bowl on, the heat he's had to go, I'm not surprised seeing the back of Rishi Pant. 2
slips and a gully round the wicket, and ball carries through to Ben Foakes with a little bit of extra zip and nip as Akshar shoulders arms. Just having another look at the replay of the dismissal. Comes rather off the toe of the bat twisting in the hands of Rishabh Pant as he makes contact. Didn't actually try to go over the top of Joe Root. I think he was trying to keep the ball down, if anything, and rather clothed it into the England captain's hands at mid-wicket. But what an innings. He'll still be thinking to himself that he could have put this game out of sight, but England clinging on as Anderson is straight and Akshar is as straight in defence, and there's no run.
Yeah, he's trying to keep the ball down because England had changed the field, brought slip out, put 2 men back, and basically saying, right, we're going to bowl middle of the pitch. If you want to take us on, well, it's going to be a big hit to hit it for 6 off with a new ball. This a little bit of invariable bounce, and it was a good bit of planning by the England captain, and you just need an element to luck when that happens, and he got it.
Anderson in, full ball is driven by Akshar. Diving Dan Lawrence, who rather fumbles the ball at mid-off, and somehow, did they get through for a run? They didn't, no. Somehow Aksar and Washington Sundar managed not to pick up what should have been a pretty straightforward single. Just a bit of a pause for breath, really, as we mull over the effect of Rishabh Pant on this game and on most of the ones he's taken part in since returning to the side in Melbourne. And that position is his for the foreseeable future, as Washington Sundar is on the back foot. They did get a single from the previous delivery. Washington Sundar has just peeled off the most exquisite back foot drive, just wide of mid-off for 4.
What a shot this is. This is timing. This is going right back on the tips of his toes. Let the ball come to him, and his back foot punch, beautifully straight down the ground, eyes level, perfect. What a shot. Middle of the bat. Fantastic shot. This kid is a player. This kid is a proper player. In England have had real trouble 6, 7, 8 and getting 6, 7 and 8 out in this series. It's really been a positive sort of section of the batting order for the Indian cricket team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, our colleague and part of the Times writing team, Mike Atherton, was saying that Joe Root's 5 for 8 was against the tail. You have to point out that England have struggled to get the tail out, barring his 5 for 8. So you're absolutely right. As Anderson is in once more, and the ball is defended on the back foot by Washington Sundar, who moves on to 44. England through 85 overs now. James Anderson and Ben Stokes have bowled a large portion of those. Stokes with the wickets of Rohit and Kohli. Anderson with the wickets of Gill, Rahane and Pant. Jack Leach has picked up the other 2, Pujara, LBW and Ashwin, caught by Ollie Pope at mid-wicket. 264 for 7. England have battled manfully. They are behind in the game now, but they have really put in a huge shift to have India 7 down on a pitch that is still playing well, still a decent surface, still the best surface in the series so far, cricket-wise. Doesn't favour the batting team, doesn't favour the bowling team. It's just a fair pitch in Indian conditions. And England have battled, they've had to, and it's been the brilliance of Rishabh Pant that means that India are in front.
It's incredible. They've managed to doctor pitches that only Rohit Sharma, Washington Sundar and Pant have been able to score on.
Don't forget Ashwin, blocked by Akshar, his first ball off the bowling of Joe Root.
But I just want to talk about Sundar. So he has opened 6 times for his first-class team. So he's only played 12 first-class games.
Short from Root and punished. Pulled away by Akshar Patel, who's in no mood to let the England captain get away with that sort of freebie. 268 for 7 now.
But he obviously went 4 years without playing a first-class game because he was in India's setup, and it didn't, especially with the white ball cricket, he's been travelling around, and so there's a lot of people, within his team that have been saying for a long time he should be opening the batting for his first-class team as a potential opener for India.
Oh, that's heartening news. Thanks for that, Jared.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just when I was hoping that India had 3 number 11s, they've actually got 3 number 7s.
Routine around the wicket to Akshar Patel, who plays a forward defensive worthy of any opening batsman. And Joe Root picks it up in his follow through.
And just a reminder that Akshar Patel has made a 95 playing for Durham.
He did, yes.
What, at the Riverside?
At the Riverside,
yep.
yes. So that's worth about 140.
Oh, well, yeah, even more good news. Just keep it coming. A block from Akshar, middle of the bat, and Joe Root picks it up again in his follow through. India 63 runs ahead, 268 for 7. Sundar 44 not out. Akshar forward once more, making it look very easy. Little puff, little explosion out of the rough from Joe Root, bowling at the left-hander. And at the end of the 86th, it's 268 for 7.
I've got one more for you, Harmy. Gary Morgan just sent us through a stat. India's 7th wicket partnerships this series have added an average of 61 runs.
Ouch.
Yeah.
England haven't made a 50-run partnership, I don't think, in the last 2 Test matches.
Did Pope and Fogus didn't quite make it. There must be one.
They were 41, I think, yesterday. Well, yeah, go on, have a look. Stop bringing us great cheer and
bringing
do
us
some
bad
work.
news. Yeah. But it is a moot point that you look at this side and this setup that India have got now. They have got 7, 8, 9 are effectively 3 number 7s. Axar could have played in the team as a number 7, and that's a huge replacement for Jadeja, because he was massive in that role. Axar could play there. Sundar looks as though he's a fantastic prospect. He could bat at number 7, and Ashwin is actually batting at number 7 because he got 100 in Chennai. So that middle order, that lower to middle order, has really given India something just something different to sort of, I think, exasperate England's bowling attack when they're not quite rock bottom, but they were very, very close to it.
So, could you bat Pant at 5, Sundar at 6, Jadeja at 7, Ashwin at 8, and Axar at 9?
Play 4 spinners.
No, too many cooks.
All of whom could bat at number 7. Well, why not? I mean, if you get,
I'm just saying, it's a potential lineup. It's a ridiculous lineup, but it is
on
potentially
a wicket like last week. Yeah, not a problem.
Well, they wouldn't get a bowl anyway. You only need 2 spinners on a surface like that. As Ben Stokes is into the attack, bowling to the left-handed Sundar, who flashes that away outside off stump for 4, just wide of extra cover, or to extra cover's right hand anyway. And India go to 272 for 7. You're listening to commentary of the 4th Test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. Try it for free for 1 month on times.co.uk/cricket. Offer.subscription. The auto renews unless cancelled. Terms and conditions apply. No terms and conditions when it comes to the commentary of Neil Manthorpe, though. What you hear is what you get, as that ball is going to find the boundary as well off the outside edge. And that's brilliant. In fact, that's brilliant from Dom Bess. Full length dive. He may have made contact with the boundary cushions. I'll let Neil Manthorpe decide.
Well, it's 50 anyway for Washington Sundar, whether it's gone for 4 or not, because he was on 48. It was an excellent effort from Dom Bess. There's absolutely no question about that, and it's touch and go. I don't know whether Anil Chowdhury, the 3rd umpire, can see any evidence to rule that as being a boundary. I think it'll just stand as 2. And an excellent 50 from Washington Sundar from 96 balls in just over 2 hours and 10 minutes. Here is Ben Stokes once again, slashed away behind square on the offside to the man sweeping Dom Bess. This time it's gone straight to him. I must say I do feel a great deal of sympathy for Ben Stokes, who has given his absolute everything, and it's a ghastly analogy because I find bullfighting absolutely despicable, but once the proud, strong, gallant bull is finally brought to its knees, you do feel for the bull. I feel a bit like that for Ben Stokes at the moment. He's given it absolutely everything.
Well, it's come to bite them in the backside, hasn't it now, the selection. I mean, you look as
Stokes short down the leg side, left alone.
You look as well of Anderson's bowled and as Stokes bowled, but you can just see it, can't you, in Ben Stokes' body language. He's tired, he's hurting, he's sore, and India are taking the game away from England. It's been quite magnificent, by the way. Sat out there, not in the commentary box, just watching Rishabh Pant play some of the shots he played. Absolutely fascinating.
It happened in about 45 minutes. Here is Stokes in once again, and that's pushed out towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. And we have said about Rishabh Pant on various occasions, he's the kind of player who can change a game in an hour. Well, but Mark Butcher and I were just having a chat about it off air. It happened in about 45 minutes. That when the new ball was taken, Rishabh Pant. Normally you think it's a bit of an exaggeration. You can change the course of a test match in an hour. It happened in less than that. It happened in about 45
Countered,
minutes.
didn't he? Absolutely counter-attack. Brilliant.
Here is Stokes once again, and that's punched off the back foot. Super looking shot from Akshar Patel, and India's lead goes up to 71, and they're 276 for 7.
I think you can almost explain Pant's innings by looking at Sundar. He's played second fiddle, and he's got 51 in 97. Played beautifully, chanceless. Played up and down the line of the ball. Used his feet really well. He's played a beautiful knock. But his second fiddle has sort of been in the background to Pant, who just absolutely. I'm in awe of some of the things and how he goes about certain
Nothing
things.
for second fiddle is the bats, unfortunately. And when you play like that, it's box office, and you look at players like A.B. de Villiers, don't you, and McCullum and Gale and Pant. These are the guys that go on. If they can carry on playing that way in international cricket in all forms, they're just gold dust. Absolute gold dust box office. That's what will get bums on seats in the 100, which we were talking about earlier.
Rishabh Pant's first 50 came from 82 balls, and we were thinking that's pretty good going. His second 50 came from 33.
Well, he made the first. I said when he got to 50, didn't I? But I said that's pretty quick. If you look at Rohit Sharma, we had to really fight and battle and be watchful to get to the score he got to 49. But like I said, Rishabh Pant came in and he played beautifully from the off. Found a technique to play Joe Root off the back foot mainly, didn't he, as well? A couple of close calls, but the way he took me away there against one of the best bowlers ever, Jimmy Anderson. Wow.
Quite extraordinary. 276 for 7, and the lead is 71 after England's 205. Jack Leach is coming in to the attack now, and he's bowling to the tall figure of Akshar Patel, who's beaten outside the off stump. Welcome to our listeners on TalkSport, joining us here on TalkSport 2, where every single delivery is live and exclusive of England's tour to India. And my goodness me, how this test match, the fourth test match, has been a topsy-turvy fight back, counter-attacking affair, because India well on top now. Jack Leach in, and that's steered away by Akshar Patel once again, the left-arm spinner, who's taken 22 wickets in 22 wickets, an average of just over 10 in his first 3 test matches, the last 3 of this 4-match series, and now he's contributing with the bat. But Washington Sundar has 51. We have seen a century that's played off the pads by Akshar, a century of the highest calibre today from India's wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant, whose third test 101 from just 115 balls. And when he came to the crease, India were 80 for 4. This one is pushed away defensively again out towards mid-wicket, and that 80 for 4 soon became 146 for 6, and England at that stage are still leading by 59 runs. Rishabh Pant has turned the game on its head. He's grabbed it by its ankles and he's shaking all the change out of its pockets. That's pushed away again defensively out in the onside. No run. Gareth Batty.
As you were reading out those stats, I was thinking to myself, there's only one way this can go for Akshar Patel. Wonderful numbers, and he's bowled beautiful. And then Goffey, to my right, reminds me there's still a second innings for him to bowl in.
Yes, that's right.
He's got another 4 or 5 to come on top of that, lads. I'm telling you now.
Here is Leach once again. Forward comes Akshar Patel at 276 for 7. He's taken 22 wickets in 5 innings.
There's more to come on, unless obviously India's seamers have a field day and knock over the top order. But we're talking about England being in the fight back. England were magnificent that first session and a half. Let's give them some credit. The way Anderson and Stokes' ball was terrific. Leach were trying to back them up. They were just lacking that other bowler, an extra bowler, weren't they? And it's cost them. And then they've had a player, India, that's come in and taken the game. I've often compared this team to the Australian team of the 90s. They get a team by the old, and they absolutely, destroy you. And they've got that mentality. And what they've got a game changer coming in at number 7. Or, 6, 7 or 8. Same as Australia had Gilchrist, they've got Rishabh Pant. It's a game changer for India. It really is. They got Jadeja, who would probably be coming in after him in a normal selection panel, in a normal test match.
there's another similarity between Rishabh Pant and Adam Gilchrist, is that they both appear to have largely a disregard for statistics, because Rishabh Pant's made 3 90s. He's got out, and well, he made 89 not out. But the fact that the 100 just seems irrelevant to him. It's just a question of changing the game and putting India into a winning position. He doesn't seem to have a personal regard for numbers, averages, personal statistics. Now Dom Bess is back into the attack. India 276 for 7, leading by 71. It's been a torrid couple of spells for Dom Bess recently, and he's in, and it's pushed defensively by Washington Sundar. In fact, Bess has bowled 12 overs compared to Joe Root's 14, which is not a situation that Root would have wanted. But I mean, Bess hasn't been flogged. I mean, he's 12 overs for 49. It's just over 4 and over. Here is another full toss, and that's been his problem, and it's smashed down the ground for 4. That is the problem, and Gareth Batty has tried to explain to those of us who don't really understand the art and the difficulties of spin bowling why he bowls so many full tosses. But there's another one, Bats.
Yeah, you can see it on his face now. It's not a technical thing. It's not a physical thing now. It's in the top 2 inches now. You can see how he's berating himself. He can't understand it. He's fighting himself, which is, we said, myself and Harm, it's not a nice place to be, and he's fighting, controlling the mind now.
Well, it's 4 more runs to Washington Sundar, and that one's right up in the block hole. It's almost a Yorker length delivery. It's driven to Jimmy Anderson at mid-off. 280 for 7.
Bats, I tell you what, I saw some clips of him earlier. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, where it shows him in practice where his head is pretty straight, you know, and he's got high arm, and then it shows him in the game and his head dips quite a lot and his arm's lower.
Here is Bess once again. Forward comes Sundar playing defensively. I mean, there's so much analysis goes on in the England team. They must know that if that's a truth.
Well, I think that's what he's been working on. I would say. Would you, Gareth? I mean, that's what he's been working, trying to get his head. Do you know what I mean? Straight down the wicket rather than tilting to the left.
Yeah, I'll explain after this ball. But yeah, fundamentally trying to be more upright, which is a balance thing, which is a consistency thing, obviously.
India leading by 75 runs, and it's another full toss from Bess, and it's driven to extra cover, and he's got away with it because it's nicely fielded by Zach Crawley diving to his left.
But all these things need sorting training ground, so that when you go out into the game, you just play the game. You play the man in front of you and you bowl accordingly. You can't be thinking about that now. There's too much pressure, there's too many outside factors coming into when you're bowling in a game.
Ooh, there's a man in at silly mid-off now. It's driven in the air uppishly by Washington Sundar, but for a single to the man sweeping on the cover boundary.
But giving him 2 games off, that's what they've obviously been working on, and that's what they were hoping he could bring into the game now. But as you said, once you bowl a couple of bad deliveries, it all comes back, doesn't it?
Yep.
It all comes back.
The muscle memory goes, and what you tend to do is, and it's similar for fast bowlers that we see, as soon as you're under pressure and you're trying to drive the ball into an error, you lose your front side, which is the bit that lines you up. As soon as that's gone, then the head goes, then the body goes, and you lose your focus on target, and you lose the power in your ball, you lose the swing, the spin, whatever else.
Well, you're just using the shoulder, aren't you? And I totally agree, and comparing it to the fast bowler, because looking at clips and watching fast bowlers time and time again, when they get tired, they kind of fall away, don't we, that front side. It is so important. I used to have a coach of mine, every session, there used to be a text on my phone when we were allowed mobiles in the dressing room, and when I come off at tea, if I was just tiring, it used to just say 2 things. To just say front arm. That's it.
I think it was Alan Davidson, the Australian cricketer, used to go jogging with his front arm up, his right arm, to try and just get used to keeping it in the position he wanted it at all times.
Jogging? What's jogging?
Yeah, he was probably the only cricketer in the 1950s who jogged.
There's something in it, though. All these little things, they sound stupid, and people will be sat at home
really
listening. They'll be driving the car, whatever, and they'll be going, "What are you on about?" It's stupid, but it just goes that way.
I'm not having that. Hang on a minute.
I've got another one for you. Mitchell Johnson used to go jogging with a cricket ball in his hand. You know that?
I know that's true.
Really?
Just because he wanted the comfort of the ball in his hand to get used to that ball in his hand.
Australian seamers are weird, Goffey.
Jack Leach continues to Washington Sundar, who's back, playing it with the spin out towards mid-wicket, and they trot through for a single.
I used to go to bed as well with a football when I was younger, not a cricket ball. I think most of us probably at some point, even though
You
we've
get
gone
one
on
for
to
Christmas?
Yeah, football.
Was there room for you? And
He's still wrapped up, that one.
India 282 for 7. What a picture that is. Use your imagination for that. Goffey and a football in bed. Pushed out behind square, or heading down the leg side. He tried to push it through the leg side. Unable to get a bat to it.
I think what he's trying to say, man, is but it's still down my shirt now, that football. It's all like Army's having twins.
On strike, it's Akshar Patel, and he comes forward and plays defensively. Interesting facts you didn't know about Akshar Patel, number 7.
He's left-handed?
No, his parents named him, his given name is Akshar. Have you ever seen an Indian name with an X in it before? The letter X is not used in Indian names. When they went, here's Leach again, forward comes Akshar Patel. So when they went to register his birth, they went to the birth registration office, and the clerk filling in his 715th form of the day heard Akshar. That his name is Akshar, Akshar, which is a common Indian name. And they said Akshar, and the clerk, tired, sore fingers at the end of the day, heard Akshar, and that's what he wrote on his birth certificate. That's down the leg side from Jack Leach, and it's missed by Ben Foakes. And I fear more buys will go down again. It's just so harsh. I mean, that's a quick delivery, fired a long way down the leg side. Foakes couldn't lay a glove on it. Which is why it's pronounced Akshar as opposed to Aksar. And so you see, I tell you what, interesting facts you didn't know about. Anyway, it's 4 more buys.
Can you tell us about Washington? Why is he called Washington Sundar?
Because his father was inspired
No,
by...
he wasn't inspired, was he? His father actually was paid for by a friend, wasn't it?
Called Washington.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. 286 for 7. He was inspired in a way, wasn't he? That slog swept by Akshar Patel out towards deep mid-wicket. Couple of bounces and it rolls into the deep mid-wicket boundary, and that's 4 more. India, well, it's as what Gareth Baddy would say, tax-free batting now. It's just help yourself time, buffet.
Oh, it's just the line of the ball here from Jack Leach, just a little bit straight, and Sundar picks up on it, and wow, he just picks up so quickly and hits it in front of square, hits the gap between deep square leg and mid-wicket. 1 bounce into the boundary. It's quality batting from Sundar. It's what we've seen all day. It's magnificent.
Sponsored, I think is the word we're looking for. He was sponsored, wasn't he?
Yeah, his father.
His father was sponsored by...
P.D. Washington was the man's name who helped. Can I give you a stat? This is just for you. I mean, Bats and Goffey can probably have a couple of seconds
Is
off
this
here.
things we don't know about Akshar Patel, number 8 or 9?
mean, sadly not.
Oh.
This is the longest time in Test match cricket history between 50-run partnerships for England when it comes to the amount of partnerships. So they've gone 65 partnerships without actually having a 50-run partnership, and they've never done that before in Test match cricket history. Their last partnership of 50 runs was Pope and Root in the first innings of the first Test. And they've never ever gone this long in a Test match without another 50-run partnership.
Just 24 hours after Liverpool lost their 5th consecutive game at home for the first time in their history.
Talking of partnerships, we're going to have to forget our partnership. Goffey's mate Chris Evans has just been in chucking Maltesers at him. We've lost him for a few minutes while he wolfs them down.
Here is Dom Bess. Oh no, full toss. It's okay. It's driven to Johnny Bairstow at cover, and there's no run.
You should have thrown me a bag of crisps. I'm not bothered about the chocolate, but the crisps I would have eaten. But I think, getting back to just the cricket for a moment, I think Washington Sundar, the way he's played here, 57, 105 deliveries, he got it spot on. He's played second fiddle, but what a knock it's been from him.
He has. Dom Bess is in once again, and Sundar, or Washi as they call him, comes forward and plays defensively, and there's no run. 290 for 7.
Yeah, because Virat Kohli brought him in and said about he's in for the third spinner, but he's in to get runs, batting where he's going to bat, and wow.
Virat Kohli said that.
Yeah, and what a selection that is, actually. Hats off.
Full and wide outside the off stump. I mean, imagine that. I mean, the luxury of having... You're picking a batsman who happens to be a very useful third spinner.
Amazing for a third spinner. And unfortunately, he's probably going to end up being replaced by Jadeja, one of the best players in the world.
Here is Dom Bess once again, and that one spins and he covers the spin, pushes it to cover, no run.
Well, if he keeps playing like he is, we saw what's happened with Pant getting back in on a Boxing Day Test match, and probably won't look back for the rest of his career the way he's playing at the minute. Sunday, you never know. He might be the man now that gets pushed up the order, or Rahane, is he under pressure? I don't know. I'm only speculating.
Here is Dom Bess once again, and forward comes Sundar playing defensively. Did you see at the end of Dom Bess's last over, Joe Root went and put his arm around him and you know, it's trying to encourage him, because he knows that he's sinking, and the captain was trying to lift him.
The interesting thing, Dom Bess was almost walking away from him, like, just, you know.
Forward comes Sundar once again playing defensively. Well, it's like almost leave me alone with my pain.
It can be worse, can't it, Bats?
Yeah,
it can be worse if people making it obvious, but you're struggling and putting your arm around you in front of the watching millions or listening millions. You know what I mean? It can make it worse, that doing stuff like that.
But do you know what? Human beings, that is a great intent from Joe Root. We can't say anything other than that's brilliant, and he's trying his absolute best to help the young lad out. That's nobody at fault there. That's just, we know, well, I know, Goffey don't know as much, but if you're the man in that place, it's kind of like, oh, just let me stick my head underneath the parapet and just, you know, I'm invisible for a little bit. Now you're putting the spotlight on me again.
I think it was Carl Nisha who said every man has a right to suffer.
And we all have at this game, Test cricket, when you're out there, we've all suffered at the hands of someone, whether it's bowling a wide that don't hit the cut bit, or whether you're getting smacked all over the park by Gilchrist and Ponting. You know what I mean? We've all suffered, or bats with Lara. It's hard, Test cricket.
It's your rite of passage, isn't it?
Absolutely. You learn, don't you, from your bad days. You're always learning, every single day.
Now then, it's 290 for 7, and Akshar Patel on strike on 10 from 23 deliveries. May I just say as well that Dom Bess has bowled 14 overs, none for 54, which, as far as bad days go, is statistically anyway. I mean, he's bowled visually much worse than statistically. Here is Leach once again, and that's steered away behind square on the offside. Remember, Jack Leach bowled 6 overs for 60 in his first 6 overs to Rishabh Pant.
Yeah, that was an onslaught, though. That was an absolutely planned onslaught, wasn't it, against Jack Leach? This is totally different. I think Mark got it spot on earlier. They've just milked him, kept him on, milked him. It's what Geoffrey Boycott would have done.
Jack Leach in once again, and Akshar turns it behind square to short fine leg. 290 for 7.
Which is sometimes more demoralising as the person that you're slowly being dismantled, as opposed to just an onslaught and it's kind of like you're in and out and it's happened. If you're just being dismantled, it doesn't halfway on your head and the 2 inches up there.
Jack Leach in again, slightly short, and I mean slightly short, and it's pulled Akshar Patel very, very quickly onto the length of this, goes deep in his crease and pulls it with a straight bat to mid-wicket for a single. 291 for 7. The lead is 86.
I mean, I remember Geoffrey saying to me, I mean, he's probably said it to most people in here, if you've got a spinner on and it's a flat pitch or whatever and it's not doing too much, just keep hitting ones and twos. You don't want to hit him out of the attack. You want to just keep rotating the strike, getting your ones, getting your twos, the odd 3 now and again, but don't be doing anything stupid. Keep him on.
Jack Leach in again. Flicked away through square leg past Ollie Pope.
It's true though, isn't it?
It's cruel. 292 for 7. That's what it is. It's cruel.
Wondered where you were going with that. I thought you were going to say he's called you rubbish at some point, and I was like, yeah, he has.
Oh, he's done that, yeah. Him and Fred.
Well, is there a way back for England? You know, it was. It's just you just keep coming back to the fact that Ashwin has taken 27 wickets at 15 and Akshar Patel has taken 22 at 10, and England have got to cope with those two, and they're almost 100 behind. Jack Leach continues once again, and this one pushed defensively, no run.
I'm certainly not saying that I'm getting carried away or anything, but I do think England showed some signs in the first innings. There were partnerships and we just didn't quite get the rub of the green. I'm thinking Bairstow's LBW, I'm thinking Pope, the sort of nutmeg between his legs. There were signs that just didn't go our way, and they should be taking heart from the way that Pant and Sundar have played, and they've used skill, they've used a lot of nous, and they've used sort of gamesmanship to get the runs on the board. England can definitely do it. It's going to be very, very difficult because it is just that possible step up with Ashwin and Akshar Patel, plus the scoreboard pressure, but I still think it can be done.
It's like watching Lionel Messi or Ronaldo saying, dribble the length of the pitch and slot it in the back of the net. Well, it can be done.
Well, they're gonna need 250 in the second innings to have a chance, aren't they? Let's put it straight. I mean, are they going to get 250 in the second innings?
Got a bowl India out first time.
Well, there you go.
First. Here is Dom Bess continuing, and that was smashed straight back down the ground over the bowler's head. He hasn't got all of it. He's that sliced off the face of the bat actually, and it's just cleared Jimmy Anderson at mid-off. For a moment, as the ball was in the air, Anderson thought he could backpedal sufficiently quickly to get hands to it, but he's just got enough of it.
Yeah, it's actually well bowled from Dom Bess. That
It's a good ball.
A bit of flight on it, did him totally in the flight. Bit of turn as well. He didn't get hold of it. He clothed it. Jimmy Anderson, let's say he's bowled a few overs. Jimmy Anderson, he's not. He's getting on a bit now, Jimmy, and he's run after that one. Perhaps if he were fresh, he might have got some kind of hand on it. But 294 for 7, a lead of 89 now, and TalkSport 2.
Washington Sunday's 2 runs takes him on to 60 now. What an innings it's been. Dom Bess in again, and that one is driven straight back to the bowler, no run.
It does just show you this game of ours. If it's getting you, it keeps getting you. You don't get any freebies. You have to work so hard for everything, and that just shows there with Dom Bess. Didn't get the wicket. He's had days where he's not bowled so well and got wickets. You got to take the rough with the smooth.
Oh, that's a beauty. That's an absolute ripper. Spun from middle, past the outside edge, past off stump into the gloves of Ben Foakes. And a rueful, wry grin from Dom Bess. Perhaps he's finally stopped beating himself up. Perhaps he's finally beginning to relax. Just let me do what I'm doing. Oh, they're actually referred it. Ben Foakes took the bails off, and just as a precaution, has been referred to Anil Chowdhury for a potential stumping.
Great bit of bowling again, by the way.
Well, we've said this all along. He's bowled some magnificent deliveries. He's not bowling pies all the time. It's just there's been a full toss or two every over, or a drag down.
Yeah, and this is from the main part of the pitch. It's really spun and bounced.
Grounded. Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
I mean, it's good for Bess on this occasion. It's probably not a good sign for the 3 or 4 lads who are thinking about batting on the England side. It's started to go big from straight.
Just a reminder for those of you who've heard the phrase and sometimes wonder what it means, turning from the straight. That means wicket to wicket. Here is Dom Bess once again, and that is pushed defensively out into the offside. In other words, on either side of the line directly between the 2 sets of stumps, there are bowler's footmarks, and the ball spins out of that because the bowler's footmarks break up the pitch. But when the pitch breaks up naturally, where the bowlers are not allowed to run on that straight line between the stumps, then you're in trouble. Pushed away defensively off the back foot again by Washington Sundar. So that's the difference between turning off the straight and turning from wide of the stumps. There's nothing much you can do about the ball turning when it's turning naturally, as it were, not from bowler's footmarks. 294 for 7, lead of 89. Big appeal for leg before wicket. Down on one knee, up goes the finger. Has Dom Bess got a wicket? Washington Sundar's reviewed it immediately. Once again, it has to have gripped enough to straighten because it was heading down the leg side. If it's turned enough and straightened. Well, anyway, at the moment, Dom Bess has a wicket.
Yeah, the key person here is Ben Foakes. You watch him check. He's running off down the leg side here and checks his run almost. Has it straightened enough? Oh, and he's hit it as well.
One more time, please.
Right. And no wonder he reviewed it immediately.
I just double check with all.
Again, when it's going against you guys.
Yeah.
There you go. Fine, Nick.
I think this is completely irrelevant, but I think it would have hit the stumps.
Big spike, yeah.
Oh dear, poor old Dom Bess. He,
just do it one more time.
Like the umpire, did not hear or see the nick. It wasn't. He didn't smash it. I mean, but it is a fairly thick nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep rolling.
Okay, he smashed it.
Keep rolling. Yeah, big spike. Yeah, off the bat. Good.
Big spike off the bat, says third umpire Anil Chowdhury.
You need to reverse your signal.
Virender Sharma.
You can signal not out.
Makes the mea culpa. I'm sorry. Sign with his arms across his chest and reverses the decision. And Dom Bess shakes his head and thinks, well, I've had better days on the cricket field.
But like I said, I think in defence too, Dom, he's bowled some wonderful deliveries, and the unfortunate thing for him, he has got this technical thing and again at the top of his head, but it's just too many bad balls, isn't it? I think that's where we're at with Dom. He's bowled some wonderful deliveries. He bowls wicket-taking deliveries, and he's had a good start to his Test career. Runs and wickets. He's showed great character at times. So it's not like we say get him out, he shouldn't be playing and all that. It's just, but when you need in a Test match, you need your spinners to bowl in tandem, and we haven't had that throughout this series. Let's be honest about it.
Well, I'll ask Gareth Batty, what would you be more interested in as a coach? An off spinner who could give you 36 unthreatening balls in the same place, or one that's going to bowl you 6 wicket taking balls out of 36 and one bad ball? As a youngster, that one is outside the off stump, it's left alone. What would you rather work with?
On the second and third Test match wickets, the guy that just bowls 36 on a spot. Either side of that, the guy that's going to take wickets.
Spot on that, absolutely. If you're playing on an absolute shirt fronter, a flatty.
Here is Leach once again. Forward comes Akshar, plays defensively, no run. 294 for 7.
And that kind of is the problem for spinners. We expect them to be able to bowl 15 different ways as a young person, because the different circumstances you're bowling are very different to possibly fast bowlers get from time to time.
India's lead is 89. Jack Leach turns this one in quite sharply to Akshar's pads, and he plays it away defensively, and there's no run.
By the way, there's plenty of fast bowlers who not very good on flat pitches. When it's green and it's seaming around a bit, they're brilliant, but on flat pitches they suddenly disappear. There's plenty of them. I played with plenty of them. Disappeared when it was flat.
Stop staring at Steve Armstrong, Goffey.
Well, he wasn't one of them.
No, exactly. Here is Jack Leach once again, patted away here, and there's a impassioned appeal from Ben Foakes because no shot was offered by the batsman Akshar Patel.
I tell you what, I think that might be a little bit closer than we give it credit. Spun big.
We grew up in the era where,
saying that, Keith Arthurton got given out, wasn't it, off Shane Warne one? But remember that one? That
pitched 3 foot outside off stump.
I still laugh at that every time I see it.
Interesting to see that on ball tracking. It's hit him at 18 inches outside off stump.
Yeah, and the angle's definitely piling into those stumps for me.
I agree.
It's a guess for the umpire to give it out, though. He can't give it. He could review it, but it's an absolute guess for the umpire.
He gives it up by not playing a shot, doesn't he?
I think so. That's the way it should work. That's down the leg side. Beautifully taken by Ben Foakes, who's quickly got the ball back towards the stumps, but Akshar Patel had not left his ground. 294 for 7. Lead of 89 here. Well, this is probably the last over of the day. India have got themselves into a dominant position. England will need 3 wickets extremely early tomorrow, and then they'll have to bat out of their skins to get themselves once more back into the Test match, which is exactly what they did earlier in the morning session. England won the morning session comfortably. I'd probably say the afternoon session was shared. The evening session has been dominated by the home side, completely dominated, with a breathtaking, eye-catching century from Rishabh Pant, which has grabbed this Test match, all the initiative, and has given it firmly to India, who now are extremely strong favourites to conclude victory over the next 3 days, or possibly over the next 2 days, and take the series 3-1. That's how dominantly, that's how extraordinarily the day varied, with England fighting back in magnificent fashion with 56, 3 wickets for 56 in the morning session. And at one stage, when India's 6th wicket fell, they had just 146 runs on the board. They were leading, they were still trailing by 59, and England had put themselves into a dominant position. But I must say, Rishabh Pant has changed it, and now it's really hard to see a way back for the tourists.
Well summed up, Manners, really. That last session, 141 runs in that session, took the game away totally from England. Rishabh Pant and Washington Sundar, absolutely brilliant for different reasons. Washington just was there. absolutely supporting Rishabh Pant, who was very watchful actually, came down a couple of times, didn't hit the ball down the ground, but very, very watchful. But when that new ball was taken, it was time to cash in, and some of the shots are quite remarkable. Who says you can't take a T20 game into a test match? It was all there, plain to see. 294 for 7, brilliant.
Yeah, traditional values of the game have been rewarded for me. First session England, second session you go 50-50. I'm still going a little bit England, but India's stuck in the War England down, and possibly what Goffey and Harmy have suggested about the bowler and maybe an extra one that England required has bit England in that last session, and 141 in the last session is the thing that's changed the day's proceedings and really put India in the ascendancy.